What did I do wrong? I never can tell. The problem with the Sling Studios is I never can tell if it's live. So the beginning of all my shows is me talking like strangely, like I'm doing right now.
Right. Well,
and then
let's make sure we didn't. We just talked about a lot of things that shouldn't be on the radio.
That'll never make it to the air. Believe me, I'm also the production guy. So, hello, God bless and welcome. I'm Kevin Haggerty. This is the Godlogic Project, where we discuss maintaining a Christian worldview in a post-Christian America. Got a little something different for you tonight. We're going to do. We're talking to a real, actual, live, professional comedian right here in the studio. We're going to talk about what it's like, the struggle coming up in comedy, the pressures you feel in comedy from political correctness, and we're going to talk about a charity event he's headlining at on Saturday night. But first... Hello, God bless, and welcome. I'm Kevin Haggerty, and this is the Godlogic Project.
Shut up, Kevin.
Yes, I'm Kevin Haggerty. That's Mike Houston telling me to shut up. And in studio today is comedian Craig Loydgren.
Shut up, Kevin.
And his wife, Jen.
My manager.
And I'm Kevin Haggerty. Another week with Kevin Haggerty. It's got to...
another week with Kevin Haggerty.
I got to tell you, that ain't flattering. Whoa.
Well, you see that?
That scared me a little bit.
You know, it's funny. It's like you're playing that screaming women, like for me, and it sounds like a bunch of Asian women running from Godzilla. It's Godzilla! You know? And I come walking in like, dun, 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 dun.
Well, a lot of women scream. You don't know if they're running towards you or away from you.
Most of them are running away.
So you get that Doppler effect where it gets higher. It gets higher as they pass you.
It's away. The only reason I kept her is I drugged her for many years. Now she can't escape.
Well, you know, everybody wants a 10. I say find a 7 with low self-esteem.
There you go. Hey.
Wait. Someone has to keep it.
I love that I'm on a show called the Godlogic Project.
Yeah. So you may even get to heaven tonight before this is over.
Or I'm going to get a direct line to, he's going to be like, wah, wah, wah.
You may drag me down. I may be excommunicated. I don't know if the Free Methodists do that, but I could be excommunicated before tonight's over.
Well, let's hope it's not my fault entirely.
No,
I'll take some of the responsibility, but I don't want it to be all my fault.
Then we'll have to go on the road together, buddy.
Hey, listen, you know what? Let's get
Jen
fired.
would never have that. She knew me when I was out there,
Let's
bro.
get fired. Yeah, she knows me, and I'm out there. So, yeah.
You're way out there. In fact, people meet me, and they're like, I tell them I'm sober, I don't drink, and they're like, wait, you're not drunk right now, bro?
No.
This is as good as it gets.
You know what's funny? I'm not a big, I'm not a big drinker. I do drink on occasion, but I don't drink ever. Like people are always like, before a show you don't have a drink before you go on stage. I'm like, no, I have to be stone cold sober. So what you see up there is me being sober because I need all my wits. I interact with the audience. I like to talk and communicate. And if you're drinking, everybody else is drinking. So right away I have the advantage if I'm sober. But if I'm drinking too, I'm just as stupid as the guy I'm trying to talk to and interact with, and if he's like hi, and I'm up there going hi, but it doesn't make much for good.
It can go bad quick. So you have to control the audience to some degree.
You have to control the audience. Yes. Totally, not even to some degree. If you aren't funny, I mean, come on, you go to shows, guys aren't funny, or they're not just there, and they lose the audience. Or you have a rowdy bunch that's drinking. Now you really have to be on. You have to be not even 100%. You have to be 150%.
Oh yeah.
Because if you have a group of guys, a comedy is a couple's thing. Like if it's all men or all women, the shows tend to be very difficult because all men guys just want to BS and like smoke cigars and heckle and talk back. They don't have their wives sit next to them like to hit me, which she'll probably do 7 or 8 times.
Well, they're trying to get some that night, so they don't want to. It's like going to an all-boys school. You can act any way you want. You go to a co-ed school, you got to be cool, you know?
Yeah. If I went to an all-boys school, I'd be a rocket scientist, but I went to a co-ed school, so I'm a dropout. No, I did graduate. High school.
You have that on me. I didn't.
I went in the Navy, so the Navy, they wouldn't take me without my diploma. So
see, I got stories that I won't tell about that, too, but I tried to go in the Army, but...
You tried.
Yeah, it didn't work out.
I'm in the Army and I am gay.
When they said pee in a cup, I thought they meant burn a hole through the bottom of it. So I'm like, specially qualified.
Nice.
No, doesn't work that way.
I think I just stepped on your mic stand. Sorry.
My microphone is. Can you hear that?
Oh yeah.
It's very microphonic. That's why it doesn't touch the table.
Is that a legit word, microphonic?
Yes. So I'm what you call an audio video guy.
I got that in stereo. Yes.
I'm
microphonic.
People don't realize this, but I'm really smart. 7 years of high school.
There you go.
Not a lot of people could say that.
There you go.
So,
You're like Mr. Blutowski. 8 years, you have a 0.0.
I'm like, it's like I'm like the worst character on Welcome Back, Kotter. Like Epstein. What was Epstein there for like 12 years?
Epstein's mother.
Was Epstein like 40?
Yeah. Well,
They all were.
He had to
Signed
do a little special
Epstein's
program
mother.
to get
Epstein's
out.
mother. Every time, for the people out there who don't know what the heck we're talking about, the show Welcome Back, Kotter, which gave John Travolta his start.
Barbarino.
Vinny Barbarino, up your nose with a rubber hose. Remember, like, stuff like that. But one of the characters was Epstein. He was half Puerto Rican, half Jewish. And every time he didn't have his homework or didn't do something, he always had a letter and a note that he would write, obviously, and it was always signed Epstein's mother.
Yeah.
So, Juan didn't do it because Juan Epstein.
Yeah.
Juan didn't do his homework today because the dog ate his book, signed Epstein's mother.
And Mr. Kotter was like, signed Epstein's mother.
Well, the Sweat Hogs, remember
Yeah,
they were
yeah.
which if you look at it now, it was the 70s. The Sweat Hogs now is nothing more than like resource room, like special education. Like they were the
That was
all
me.
of us, the like resource room or whatever you want to call it. Kids that are in the little classes with the teacher and the parrot because you get in trouble all the time. That's kind of what. But they were called Sweat Hogs.
Yeah.
You and the Sweat Hogs.
Well, I went to Monsignor Farrell, which is like a really nice.
Ah, you were a Farrell high school boy? I didn't realize
so
that.
I went for 2 years there, but I was an athlete, so I couldn't get in trouble because I was an athlete. They took their sports very serious. So then I leave, and it all went downhill from there.
They still, oh yeah, I can imagine.
So I go to public school with my friends from Lincoln Avenue,
Yep.
and now, back then, our friend Don, I won't use his whole name, was like a goody two-shoes.
Get out of here.
I
He was never.
I ruined this
the
dude's
same
life.
He's a goody two-shoes.
He was like a A, B
Are
student.
we talking about the same dog?
Yes,
Yeah.
we are.
So he
Wow.
starts hanging out with me.
You were his
was it.
downfall. Wow, you were the brownie to Jim Ignatowski in Taxi. Remember Jim? Remember Taxi? Ever see the one where that goes back in time to his first day? Yeah, but he was a beta. He was in like
Right.
Harvard, and he was this big scholar. And, the sweater and everything, and the roommate made the special brownies,
He had
and he
an
took
ascot,
one
didn't he?
bite. Yeah. He took one bite, and the face came on.
was it.
He's like, I can't believe, what is this? And he goes, "Caw," and that was it. It was just like, "Caw."
That was it.
I just showed my kids the when he was trying to get his driver's license.
Oh,
the
what does a yellow light mean? We do that. I
the
probably do that
time.
4 days a week to people. Anytime what does a yellow light mean? Slow down.
I don't know.
If anybody out there is watching, if there's anybody out there watching, we don't know if anybody is.
If anybody's left watching,
Yeah, and you go to YouTube, you can look that up. Look up the show Taxi if you don't know what we're talking about. Jim Ignatowski. Just watch. Jim gets his driver's license, and he goes to DMV to take a test, and he's asking them. They're all trying to help him with his test, and he's sitting there and he's asking them what a yellow light means. So they keep telling him to slow down. So he keeps slowing down to ask the question. It's genius. It's so stupid and genius at the same time.
it is. Let me tell you that show was comedy gold, brother.
Oh, absolutely. Shows like they don't make shows like that anymore. That All in the Family, just MASH, all these old shows that I find myself watching on like TV Land. I know I'm dating myself, but when you flip through the channels and all of a sudden you pop on something that brings you back to when you were like 8. For me, it's anything with hair. Anything when I go back, I'm like, oh, last time I seen this, I had hair. I tend to watch it for a little while.
Well, they were kind enough to. I'm putting our live stream on. Let me put myself in the camera here. We do have a podcast to do when we're done telling jokes.
Oh, really?
I'm gonna post this to my personal Facebook so you can catch it there. But I need you to click through to the YouTube channel because it helps our algorithms or whatever it is. I need subscribers, so if you take a minute, subscribe, ring the alert bell. It'll let you know every time we put up content again. But it also helps the Godlogic project, so it's a free, easy way for you to support the Godlogic project grow and get our message out there. I have to throw that in because I got to pay the bills.
Well, what he's saying nicely, I'll put it in another term. Go subscribe to his YouTube page, people. You click. You go to the YouTube page. There's a little thing that says subscribe. You put your finger on it and you click, and poof, you never have to watch the show again after I'm on. But as long as he has subscribers, he looks like people care. So please go and subscribe. I haven't subscribed yet, but I will. I promise I will in the next week or two. I will subscribe.
So you haven't even.
He
So
will fight tonight.
I will.
Hey.
Bull crap.
It ain't.
Shh.
It's not like I'm asking to date your sister. It's a click, bro. It ain't big. It's not a life-changing thing, but it helps me.
You
Just
know what?
click it. Just click it, please.
Click it, dag nabbits, and I'm trying not
I
to
was
curse
worried about
him.
giving you, after watching your YouTube videos, I was worried about giving you coffee Is it a
I
good
don't need
idea that you don't? It's probably a bad idea. So that meth I bought, we won't even hit.
No, meth is good. Coffee, bad.
Bad, coffee bad.
Doctor said only 2 cups a day, but meth, we can just go all night, baby. Bing, bing, bing.
Ricochet rabbit.
There you go.
I imagine we're clipping like crazy. Let me check the audio. And then the
What do you mean you're clipping like?
It's audio video talk, buddy. I mean,
we're clipping like
hey,
crazy.
Whoa, stay in your lane, bro.
If this wasn't
I don't
Godlogic,
tell jokes. You don't talk about clipping.
If this wasn't a Godlogic project show, I think he'd be talking about something entirely different.
All right, so
see, I'm already getting the elbow. She's already slick. I got hit twice already. The show hasn't been on 7 minutes, and I already got two bumps.
Jen, let me ask you this. You and I have been friends since we were like 12 or 13 or 15 or something like that.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. What's it like being married to Craig? I imagine it can't be good.
It's insane.
It's insane. It's absolute insanity all the time,
It's
right?
a bumpy ride, but you hold on tight and you go for it and you have a
You're
great
never
time.
bored.
That's my girl.
That's one
right
thing.
there.
You're never bored. You see her come to your defense, by the way?
28
I
years,
tried to
baby.
bus roll you, and she came right to your defense. What's up
about
with
the bumpy ride and everything?
Yeah,
Yeah.
No,
about
she's just
the
being nice.
yeah.
You know, as soon as we were off the show, she's like, Kev, could you believe 28 years? Apparently strychnine doesn't kill him. I've tried to kill antifreeze. He drinks it like
No,
water. I'm
Windex,
like, you know what? Yeah,
no.
Windex, everything. She tried to kill me like 7 different times. I'm like, wow, this Gatorade is awesome.
Well,
She's in the corner like, son of a.
she calls me for marriage advice while you're at work.
Yeah, I'm
She's
sure.
like- so I pray for her. We cast out some demons on your behalf.
Oh, there you go.
And then we go on with our day.
Yeah, but you never cast out the ones inside of me.
no,
Thanks.
we get
That
rid
doesn't work.
we get rid of ours because we're the ones that bear the cross of being friends or married to you.
Oh, there you. Oh, so you.
There you go.
So you
So
need.
comedy is not a victimless crime, bro.
Right, oh no, I'm just another victim.
It takes a lot to put up with you.
Right, holy diver,
Hey,
I'm a survivor.
Wait, we don't have to unpack it that deep, Jen. Don't. Ain't no reason to go on the attack.
Ain't no sunshine.
Ain't no sunshine when she's gone.
There you go.
All right, so
that's why I'm a comic, because I can't sing.
Yeah.
well, let's pretend we're going to do a podcast.
Yeah,
all right, because
all right.
we are, bro. We're like 12 minutes into this thing, and
It's the best show you ever had.
we haven't even, this is not unlike the dinner we just had.
No,
So-
listen, and delicious. You know,
Yes.
for those of you who don't know, Kevin is originally from New York.
Woo!
And because we're here tonight, in the last 20 minutes, I have heard more words coming out in the new. Like we are pulling the New Yorker back out of him. His
Forget
kids,
about it.
Yeah, forget about it. See, it's happening. By the time the show is over, tonight, he's gonna be like, hey, yo, you know what I'm talking about? It's gonna be there. It's-
My kids were like, "Can I have a napkin?" I'm going, "I got your napkin right,
Right
here,
here.
right?" It's funny thing
He
about.
did.
Funny thing about New York is they had location to everything. What am I, a
Right
freaking
here.
moron over here?
Right, over
Hey,
here.
you with the big mouth over there.
That's it.
Like they can't help it. They got to add that last little thing.
It's like a
Let-
GPS. They want to
Yeah.
know where your destination is. It's right here. You want to know where your destination is? Right here.
Hey. So anyway, we just had some awkward silence. Did you feel that?
No.
Did you feel like everybody shut up at the same time?
But that was just a breath.
So we the way YouTube works, buddy, is we trick people into watching the show by delivering some kind of content. Crazy, right?
Well, that's why I only have like 80 subscribers. Apparently.
Well, we're gonna go through Craig Loydgren.
Loydgren, yeah.
This is your life.
Ooh.
So the thumbnail I made, by the way, the first one I made spelled your name wrong. Did you notice that?
No, on what? On
The,
Facebook?
the art that I made for that'll be up on the YouTube.
No, because I'm at the point in my age where I should be wearing glasses when I read a lot
Yeah.
more,
But he
but I'm
doesn't.
still in denial.
Yeah.
So things get by quite often.
Yeah.
I tell people don't.
This is my Hawkeye.
Yeah, I have people to handle things for me that that proofread things for me because I am two things I'm not is have attention to detail. No, I have attention to getting it done.
Right.
And I also I can't multitask.
I have
So,
attention disorder,
Yeah.
deficit
yeah,
disorder.
I'll be typing a paper and if my phone beeps, I'll be like,
Thank
That's
God.
it,
I
I'm
just
done.
forgot the whole thing. Now I got to read what I wrote to figure out where I was and get the juices flowing again. So I am definitely not a multitasker
Well,
either.
I have people that help me too, but it's really just her, but she has multiple personality disorder. So it's like, Sybil, which one are you today, baby? No, actually, I have the multiple personality
Yeah.
disorder.
I may be schizophrenic, but at least we have each other.
That's right. Exactly.
Wait, what?
That's it. No, you said
Does
it.
that make sense?
Yes, sir.
All right, so Craig is a comedian.
I
He
am.
is strangely enough, a plumber.
Wow, sounds like someone else vaguely familiar.
Yeah, and he also, that's pretty much what we have in common.
Yes.
So I was, of course, a plumber. I was Kevin the plumber.
There it is.
Before I became Rev Kev.
Rev Kev.
Yep.
So we were at a reunion. You know, you come from a screwed up neighborhood when they have a reunion. By the way, we were
For
at
a neighborhood, not a school, not just for everybody who hung out.
It
Yeah,
was
we're gonna
for
have
the
a
friends.
yeah.
It was a friend
It's a
reunion.
Grand City reunion.
So they said, hey, you got to meet Jen's husband. This is like 7 or 8 years ago, right? 10 years ago?
No, probably about 12.
12
Yeah,
years
maybe.
ago? See, I'm not doing too well, bro. Some are sicker
Right?
than others.
It's probably about 12.
Think so.
2005, maybe, or something
Huh.
around that.
4
So-
or 5.
4 or 5.
So they said, you got to meet Jen's husband. And I said, I'm being polite. I'm like, yeah, sure. Now, these guys are still partying, and I'm not, right? So they said, he's a plumber. And I said, well, cool, I'm a plumber.
Right.
And he's a comedian. I said, I used to be a comedian. So we ended up spending like 12 hours at this barbecue,
Oh, yeah.
We had a
making
blast.
fun. We laughed at everything.
Everything.
The crow would fly by. We'd find something to make a joke out of.
You know what? We had a great. It was like love at first sight. It was great. No, and then we got and it was. You know what it is? We went to hang out with. She knows all my friends. I knew a lot of some of her friends, the ones that were still like around. But then this opportunity came up where like all the old school neighborhood, everybody's getting together.
Yeah.
And you're living in Florida for at the time already like 15, 16 years.
Yeah, I
or
flew
whatever
up
it is.
from here.
Yeah, so
And it
you.
was ironically Kevin's birthday.
Oh,
It's always
it's
my
always
birthday.
Kevin's birthday.
Birthday.
I was gonna say every time he comes up, it's his birthday, and he comes up
Yes.
all different months. It's amazing
Yes.
how we
Wonderful
always have to
thing.
celebrate his birthday.
Well, when
Yeah.
we were kids, I'll tell this story. When we were kids, every time somebody's parents went out of town, somebody would say, "You're kidding me? What weekend? That's Kevin's birthday.
Right.
Maybe we should have a party. We'll just invite a few people."
Right.
So it was like every couple of weeks we were like
It was
having a
Kevin's
Kevin's birthday party.
birthday.
And bro, people give me presents. It
Right,
was
that's
like
great. That's
it was-
great.
I won't tell you what the presents were, but
Stuff.
They were
not-
presents.
they were like,
presents.
"Bro, happy birthday!" I'm like, "Thanks."
They were right. They were all gifts at the time. Nothing.
Yeah.
No gifts that. Well, they are gifts that keep on giving, but in a bad way.
Well, they sped up my redemption. because
Absolutely.
I had to hit the bottom hard to bounce back.
There you go.
So anyway, so Craig and I meet 10, 12, 15, 100 years ago. I don't remember. We were young and handsome at the
Tuesday.
time, if I remember correctly. We were both stunningly good looking back then.
I was still bald at the time, but I was much better looking now. Less
You
wrinkles.
you look exactly the same. I got old.
You know what? It's funny. I do look kind of the last 20 years.
I
don't
watch
look
your
much-
videos. Yeah.
I don't look much different. I mean, the bald. I've been bald since I'm 19. I'm not bald, but I started
You got a little
receding
more gray.
in the Navy. When I was in the Navy and they shaved my head and everything, I started seeing the free parking when it was
Yeah.
coming back in. But it wasn't bad. It was just a little bit here, you know. And then it went back a little bit more. And then we got married when I was 22, and it ran. My hair ran. It was just
Yeah.
like, you're getting
Well,
married. We
marriage
don't want to be
does that to
married.
you.
Yeah.
And the hair ran right to the middle of my back. It didn't
Yeah.
run far. It
So-
it left here and it relocated a little further down so it gets covered by, a shirt until you come down to Florida and you take your shirt off and you see that patch.
Oh yeah.
Everybody's like, "What's that patch?" That's my hair.
I
Yeah.
know.
So
Where's
you
the
carve
sound
your
go?
initials in it. In Florida, they would just put a lightning bolt in it or something.
Right.
And make it a hairstyle.
Well, I do a joke sometimes. I always say, I'm like, when I was a teenager, I had beautiful, full flowing hair all the way down to the middle of my back. Now that I'm in my 40s, I just have hair in the middle of my back. It's funny how things happen like that.
Well, the backstory is Craig has been at comedy how many years?
Well,
you
not
say?
the backstory, meaning my
No.
back. You're talking about the backstory of my life.
We want to get the visual of your back hair out of our
Yes,
listeners'
please.
ears.
I'm sorry, everyone. It's not that bad.
Some things you can't unsee, bro. Some things you can't unsee.
I'm a white man. I exaggerate about everything. All right, that's my
Well,
job. Yeah.
you're 3/4 Italian. I'm Irish.
There you go. Oh, yeah.
So-
that I don't exaggerate. I really am 3/4 Italian.
I'm half Irish and half Irish, so I'm pretty well.
Yeah, I just said tree. 3/4 Italian.
So how long you been doing comedy? Let's do a podcast while we're
All
here.
right, I'm sorry. I am doing comedy 19 years.
19 years.
Well, I started before then, but August 11th is my date that I went. I took a class back in 2001, and for like 10 weeks with this guy, Larry Amoros, really cool guy. He was on like Young Comedians back in the day,
Really?
the 8th annual Young Comedians on HBO. Like John Candy was the host and stuff.
Really?
He was cool. Yeah, he wrote for the Emmys for like 6-7 years. He wrote for the original Rosie O'Donnell show. Like, so he had some credit. He was a good dude, and he taught me a lot in the little 10-week class through Caroline's in the city. It was you graduated, and that's what Sunday afternoon they bring you up to Caroline's Comedy Club and you do 5 minutes, and so that's the date I go by. It was the graduation show of August 11th, 2001. But so this August 11th is 19 years. So right, is that right? Something like that. But I go into my 19th year. It's 18 years of full comedy. But before that, for about 6 or 7 years, I was doing it on and off.
Yeah.
And the kids were little,
It was hard.
And I was working a couple of jobs and doing comedy, so she wasn't very happy. I was never home.
Yeah.
So I don't count any of that time, even though I was doing stuff. Like I worked on the Spirit Cruise Lines from 1997 to 1999.
See, that would seem like a good gig unless you're married and have
well,
kids.
it wasn't
the
dinner. It was the dinner boat that went around New
okay.
York Harbor. For you guys, it's a New York Harbor. It's a little 3-hour cruise. Oh, 3-hour
Yeah.
tour. You know, we used to do stuff like that.
I have a story about that too. I won't tell.
What, Gilligan's Island?
Cruising around Manhattan Island on a yacht.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. But I used to MC on that, and I did that before for a year and a half. I did that. I was messing around with open mics and messing around with acting and trying to do movies, but I don't really count that time because it was scattered.
Right.
I count the other times from the time I did the class and everything, and she's like, "Get the heck out of the house! I'm done with you. Go do this already because you're a pain in my ass."
Older
But
and
sorry,
it was easier, so it was easier to kick you out of the house to go.
Because now,
do comedy.
Yeah, so now it was better to get him out of the house, basically,
Yes.
so you could watch Dance Moms.
right, yeah. Well, that came even later. All true, by the way. Anything you
Yes.
watch.
It's all
It's
true.
all true. Yeah, like I know you mess around with some of my YouTube videos and stuff, but I have my special. I have my 1-hour specials on Amazon Prime.
That's
So,
awesome.
Yeah,
so that's
it's
big
called,
time.
ironically enough, it's called Married and Miserable. But it's not that I'm married or miserable, either one of us. It's more of the
Wait, you are married, first of all.
Yeah, and she's
Well,
miserable.
he is
And she's-
married.
I'm married, she's miserable.
Okay.
Right? That's how we line that up. Because she's married to this.
It's,
So-
it's the pitfalls. It's the ups and downs.
It's you
and-
can't be married without you can't have one without the other. It's the yin and yang. It's the balance. I always tease and say it's the balance. It's the yin and yang. It's good versus evil.
So-
It's like it's comedy versus tragedy.
Keep it up.
But you can't have one without the other, is what I'm saying. So it's not necessarily that I'm miserable. It's just a play on words. Because some people
Make us miserable.
people are like, oh, I can't believe your wife would let you name that. I was like,
It's a hook.
right.
It's a hook. It gets them, boom, set
Right.
that hook.
Whether you laugh at it or like, I can't believe it, you're gonna remember it.
So this is a little back talk for guys that don't know what the last couple of weeks have been like. But Craig and I have been planning a podcast together, and then it got to Jen, and she's like, "I've got to be there." So she's like, "We cannot leave you two unsupervised,"
No.
and
Actually,
which I think is fairly responsible reaction.
you
I think
know what's
that's
funny?
a good,
She kind of came just to see you.
Yeah.
I was like, why is that? Is he giving you spiritual advice?
Kevin's birthday.
Oh, yeah,
It's
that's
my
right.
birthday
She had
today.
to come and celebrate your birthday.
So so that ties into a little bit of my backstory. I used to do comedy. Like you said, I would do open mic nights once a week or twice a week. And then I'm young. I'm 24 years old or something like that. And we talked about this a little bit at dinner.
Yes.
I was going to share it, but I wanted to save it.
No, I'm
But
glad.
when you have
I
to
don't
be,
know what I'm glad about.
when you have to be 150% on,
Yeah,
right?
like I
So
am-
my first time doing comedy, I'm with Mickey Whelan, and we're at a comedy club down in Clearwater. Ron Bennington, who was Ron and Ron and the
All
radio
right.
show
yeah,
guy.
Ron, right.
Right.
So I'm second on the list of open mic night guys.
37 miserable
Yeah.
people.
Mike Brewer is from Saturday Night Live.
No, Jim Brewer.
Jim Brewer is hosting
hosting
the
it,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah, he's the MC. So the first guy goes up there and he does.
Goat Boy, Jim Brewer. Great.
yeah.
Great comedian. Oh, my God. Amazing. He should be so much more.
Bro, he's
famous
excellent
than he is.
live.
Finish
I mean,
the
he's so
story.
I'll
funny
let him
live.
finish. He's got a great he's got a couple of good Netflix
Yeah.
specials, man.
He's
He's
some people are just dynamite on stage.
Yeah.
It just-
he's dynamo. I love him. I
Yeah.
love him. I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
But go ahead. I'm sorry. So go
So
ahead.
anyway, so the guy, me and Mickey are sitting at this little cafe table, and we're right next to the stage, and we're between the stage and the exit door. I know because I'm looking at the exit door. So I'm like, I don't know if I could do this without drinking. Now I
Right.
quit drinking by then. So, so the guy goes up before me and goes up with a sheet like this and an American Express card, and he's like, "Do you know me?" He's Jesus. That's why I carry the American Express card. They start booing him. So
Right.
apparently you can't do Jesus jokes. I mean, there's some
Right,
jokes you
right.
you go too far. So I'm next. I know I'm number 2 on the chalkboard.
Right.
And they're booing this guy off the stage. And I'm like, now that exit sign's getting brighter and brighter. I'm like, screw this. I'm out of here.
Right.
So I go up next. And the cool thing is you can't see the audience. So I can
Right,
hear
the
them,
lights
but
are
I
bright.
can't see
Yeah,
them.
yeah. People don't realize how bright those lights are. Man.
So, yeah. So once you get the first laugh, then forget about it. You're just
Smooth,
gone.
Yeah,
you know?
smooth.
But-
Well, it's not. But it makes things a lot easier, though. Yeah.
That was my first sober stand-up, and I went behind the guy making fun of Jesus with the American Express card. And I'm like, oh, my God, I said, no way I can do this. Now, my legs were shaking.
How'd you do?
I killed.
Nice.
But my problem was I wasn't very professional, so I always went on tangents. So they would, they flash the light,
Right.
and only you can see it.
Yeah.
And then they'll shut that light off. You're supposed to be done already.
Absolutely.
So when they say 7 minutes, they don't mean 8. I found out the hard way.
You burn that light, they won't book you again.
No, they turned the stage lights off on me. at
Yeah,
one
they'll
place.
they'll
Oh,
cut the
wow.
mic off if you keep going.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
you can't burn. Not on an open mic. Not anywhere really. They won't.
And you have to be professional. You have to bring. You have to begin to be. What I failed to do is I failed to become professional at it like you did. So I didn't have a set. I didn't develop any single set. But I tried to come up with a new set every week or every few days.
Right.
And
It's hard.
over and over and over again, I made myself crazy. And then my wife gets herself pregnant.
Just by herself. She got
All by
herself
herself.
pregnant.
Selfish, right?
How does that happen?
So here's what I don't understand. She gets the best 3.5 minutes of her life.
Right.
And I
Oh,
spent
yeah.
18 years raising kids. How
There
is
you go.
that fair?
See that? Listen, 3.5 minutes. You're giving yourself a lot of credit, my friend. So I know.
Well, we did it twice.
All right. There you go.
So the but I jump ship as soon as I have kids.
$12
So,
the hard way.
so I clearly wasn't as committed to the craft as you were because you stayed in there, you got dirty, you did what
love
you
it,
had to
man.
do to get through it. Where I bailed and became a plumber.
Right. Well, I am a plumber too, and
Yeah.
I still am, and I do it, but I don't like it, and I've given up. I've left a couple of decent career jobs with pensions to pursue this career.
Yeah.
So you really, if you have the passion and you want to do it, it's all or nothing. You can't part-time it. You could part-time it, but if you part-time it, you know that you're going to be a part-timer, and you're never going to really have anything. You'll always listen if you
And it's
love.
hard.
If you love the craft, like I wanted to be a comic since I was 8 years old, little
yeah.
kid. I want Mork from India.
Yeah.
That's it. I wanted to be Robin Williams. That's what I wanted. I wanted to be that kid. So I always wanted it. So, but then we got married young, and I wanted it even then. We used to hang out in the comedy club, Grandpa's Comedy Club on Staten Island.
Grandpa Munster, by the way.
Grandpa
for those
Al,
that
I was
don't
going to
know.
say for all you guys that don't know, Grandpa Al Lewis was Grandpa Munster from the Munsters. They rented his name. One of the obligations was he had to come once or twice a year and show face at the club, but it was Grandpa's Comedy Club. And he'd come through, like I said, once or twice a year.
Where was it, on Noodle Lane? Where
Right
was
off of Noodle Lane, up on the plaza, Noodle Plaza.
Yeah.
So we lived in there. We were there every weekend. Her mother was a barmaid in there, not barmaid, a waitress in there. But we would go because I wanted to, they knew us by name, like Augie, like all the guys. We didn't even pay half the time. We were just sat in the back because they knew how bad I belonged there.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I used to break out in hives. If I grabbed a microphone and tried to do
And he didn't
any
like
of this,
his voice.
I still don't like my voice. Obviously, you see, I do this with the one ear.
Yeah.
Because if I do this, I hear me all around.
Yeah,
Nobody
because
wants to hear
you had
themselves.
Nobody
stage
wants to
voice.
hear me all around, huh?
You had stage voice.
Well, I still have stage.
No, it was totally different. You're more comfortable in your.
Well,
in your,
I'm doing it long
yeah.
enough. I better. Like I just, this is just me. Now it's just me.
Can
Now it's just me.
Can I say Craigery, or is that not how the name works?
Craigery? No, you
Craigery?
can, sure.
Don't argue. If she says you're doing well now,
Craigery,
she
Gregory.
will pull the
Frank.
plug.
Compliment.
She will pull the plug on our podcast, bro.
Oh, there you go. Sorry, I'm sorry.
She had me sign a bunch of
Waivers
forms.
and stuff.
Waivers,
Yeah.
Things we could
forms,
talk
you know,
about, things we can't talk
contracts.
about.
Oh, like what we're gonna talk about eventually.
Eventually, we're going to
Okay.
get to political correctness and is it or is it not killing comedy? Because a lot of comedians think it is.
Well, is that
Yes.
your segue into this?
Well,
Yes.
it could be because we are
Do
since we've wasted the first 20 minutes
do you
telling
want to
jokes.
look at the camera and tell the audience that's what we're going to now, everyone? We're going to go into political correctness, and is it or is it not killing stand-up
Jen,
comedy?
do you have him under control or don't you?
No.
And you made
tried.
You
I
made a promise
I did.
that he would not
Yeah,
talk
she-
when the camera was on me.
She's hit me a few times.
All right, so here's the deal. The idea I got when I knew Craig is coming for a charity event in Hudson at the Kiwanis Club in Hudson, right? Saturday night at 7
The
o'clock.
Elks Lodge in Hudson, right off of
What's the
19.
difference, really?
It's for the Kiwanis.
It's for the Kiwanis, so they don't have
At
their
the
own
Elks
club.
Club.
But will there be elks there?
Yes.
So there'll be elks there, so it's going to be like a petting zoo for the kids.
Yes.
That's
They're
not
very
right
large.
at all.
No, it's perfect.
It's Hudson.
Yeah. There's going to be more things to pet there than just the
Yeah.
Elks, I'm thinking. But,
At least it's going to be set off of 19 a little bit, I hope.
yeah. It's right off of 19. But
So anyway, we're not sorry, my viewers in Hudson. Hey, don't
Your
feel
viewer,
bad.
don't-
Hudson. I live in Holiday, so people from Hudson make fun of people in Holiday. If that tells you anything.
one viewer.
So
My fan.
so Saturday night at the Elks Club in Hudson, he's doing a charity event for Dream Catchers, which is a charity of some sort. Craig, how would you like to tell us about that? I've been hearing from your sister-in-law about this for 2 weeks.
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
the charity event is for, long story short, the show that you did with me a few years back.
Yeah.
Then, we had a great show at the VFW up there to raise
Yes.
money
Right.
for cancer, too.
That was in Brooksville, though.
That
wasn't
was in Spring Hill at
Spring Hill.
the VFW on like Anderson Snow
it?
up over
like
there.
way
Yeah.
out by 75. Way
Yeah,
out there.
10 minutes further than the show if you're coming up from here, that was 10 minutes further than where you have to travel this time. But I tell you, this Elks Lodge, I went there today to make sure the sound and everything was good. Beautiful, big room, 400. They have almost 200 tickets sold for this event, which is good numbers for a summertime show. And but the place holds a lot more. But they got it's going to be a nice crowd. There's a lot of people.
There's food. It's $25, $30 if you want VIP seating. And
is there $5 more for VIP?
Yeah,
Who would
but
want to pay
I
for
think
VIP?
VIP seating is sold out.
Is it really?
So-
That many
and-
people wanted to sit
I
close?
believe the
And I'm
VIP
bringing
seating is
people,
sold out.
while I consider myself, of course, a VIP, I have to sit with the commoners because I'm bringing people. So I can't sit, enjoy your meal, and then go sit in first class. That would be inconsiderate as a pastor, particularly.
I'm in the back. I'm in steerage.
Are you? So they may not even let you in the hall?
No, I usually, even when he's wherever, I always take the
She
back.
sits in the back. Well, you know what it is? When you do, like me as a comedian, I can't watch comedy anymore on television. I'm a critic. I'm not a fan.
Yeah.
I have to take off the hat of being a comic and doing it for so long, and as a professional and traveling the country doing it. And then I want to sit and watch comedy, but what I find myself doing is I analyze everything. I break everything down. I'm listening to what they're saying, and I'm like, I have to just take this hat off and be a fan again. And I could do it, but it takes a little bit of time. The only time I could do it like instantly is if I'm working with somebody that I really, really like guys like Bob Nelson, like people I look up to. He's like one of my, one of the reasons why I am a comedian. He was huge in the 80s. He was on all the Rodney Dangerfield specials. He had his own 4 of his own HBO specials. In the 80s and 90s, he was big, but he's still around. I work with him. I open for him, and
he's just a great guy.
He's a great guy, and
He
he's
really is.
one of my heroes in the bit. Like if you look at my list, there's 5 names of comics as why I want to be a comic, and he's one of them.
Yeah.
So that I get to work with him is incredible.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So I can just sit back and listen, and I don't even have to take that hat off. And this other guy, like a guy I worked with a few weeks ago that I was always a big fan of, he's not famous, but Seymour Swan, really funny guy, black guy, really funny. One of the first guys to give me a shot in the city when I first started out, when he used to have this midnight show at the New York Comedy Club. And he was giving me my first paid spot where I didn't have to bark or anything, So he was giving me that stuff 15, 16 years ago. So we hadn't worked together in a while. Now we worked twice in the last 3 or 4 months together. And I just sit back and dig him, man. I don't have to take off that hat. I just sit back and be like, I want to laugh. I'm here to see you.
Well, some guys got it. So you see it. There's guys that are funny, but they only they're a one-trick pony, right? And after a while, Andrew Dice Clay. After a while, it's not funny anymore. There's certain guys that are famous now, but when I loved them when they first came out.
Right.
Chappelle show.
Well,
but it's kind of the same thing over and over. After a while, I get
Chappelle, no. Chappelle, yes and no, but he keeps writing and he finds ways. He's another one I could just sit back and watch. I don't have to change
his characters are hysterical.
But I do not have to change hats.
But there's
to
some
watch
guys
him.
that are just naturally funny, and it doesn't have to be like my favorite comedian ever was Eddie Murphy.
Right.
So this
He's
guy,
one of my 5, absolutely.
just funny. I mean, and he's funny now. I just watched him on the Jerry Seinfeld show.
Right, and did you hear that whole thing about Netflix? Netflix is offering him $70 million to do a
and he was talking about doing. He hasn't done stand up in decades,
20 years. Yeah, but he wants to go back out and do it. He's messing around with it. He's got to put a whole new hour together, around 15, 20 minutes, and tighten it up and get out there and do it. It takes time to write. Even if you're famous, people think, oh, well, he's famous. He was a comic. But he put it down. And he didn't put it down for a couple of weeks. He put it down for 20 years, just about. I mean,
made some movies. He started making became a father, started making kid movies.
He signed the big contract that he's just out of, like a multi-year, multi-deal contract. Really? And that's one of the other, one of the more subdued, quiet things that you don't hear about, why he wasn't doing stand-up. Because he was making a ton of dough, but he signed the contract to do other things. Yeah. So I don't think he could do. I mean, he could have done stand-up, but I don't know to what level, because he was that dad kind of stuff. Even though there was rumors of him with the, digging transvestites' feet and stuff. Remember, he was getting. They thought.
Well, who doesn't really?
Well, listen, you know what? You know what's so funny?
Sometimes a pretty foot is a pretty.
There's
foot.
nothing wrong with a size 18 foot. That's all I'm saying. And if you look at my special, the Married and Miserable special, the cover photo on the special on Amazon
are size 18
is
feet.
me sitting on the end of the bed with my hands folded, looking at my beautiful wife's feet.
They are not my feet.
You have size 18 feet.
Oh.
Dude,
that's
so
amazing.
many people stop and ask me, "Are they my feet?" And I'm
yes.
like, "No."
People and they come up.
Are they like, "Can you autograph my feet?"
Right.
Yeah. And I mean, we've had people do that, like,
Straight
oh,
up.
sign my shirt, you sign my shirt too. And I was like signing the feet. Because
Well, I'm
people thought
somebody
they were
that
my
believes
feet.
that the foot should be as sacred as any other private part of the body, because when I'm eating, I think to go in a restaurant, and I live in Florida, so it makes it worse, but to
You
go into
see
a
lot of
restaurant,
feet.
I'm trying to eat. And I look at these feet that looks like they could snatch a
Nasty,
fish out of a lake.
Nasty
you know?
toenails and
So I don't want to
crust
see
and
it.
fungus.
So I'm
They
not a
need
foot
to be
guy.
pretty if they're
Yeah.
going to be out in public.
Yeah,
Right, I
or
rather-
That's simple.
there should be some kind of foot police if they have to do
Right.
that. I mean,
Absolutely.
I'm not a big government guy, but I think that's one regulation I would
I
put in
think-
place, at least in restaurants.
I
Right.
concur.
You know, I shouldn't have to look at that when I'm trying to eat.
I concur.
They shouldn't be ugly if they're going to be out. It's
Absolutely, absolutely. But yeah, so on the covers, size 18 feet, and like she said, people are like, dude, is that really your wife's feet? I'm like, yeah, I married Bigfoot. All right. And then I go into like, if I could curse for a quick second here.
Yeah, go ahead.
I go into Eddie Murphy delirious. You married Bigfoot, Gus. You married Bigfoot. You shaved the bitch.
Googly-goo-goo.
Yeah, you shaved the bitch down and you taught her to speak. Right. And your kids, they're big feet too, Gus.
Eddie,
What the F
you
does
treat me
goody
like
goo mean?
animal.
Yeah. Well, that's raw.
6 months ago, you was butt naked on zebra in Africa.
Right, that's raw and delirious. You're mixing up two of the greats, but delirious is much better.
still works.
Well, he said on the Seinfeld Coffee and Cars with Comedians, or whatever it's called, that
Right.
the one with the leather suit was delirious.
Yes,
Yeah.
He said that was his best work.
the red suit, the
Yeah.
purple suit was raw. The red
Yeah.
suit was delirious.
So if you take something like that, or you take
That's my favorite.
Wild and Crazy Guy, which was on album when I was a
Oh,
kid.
yeah.
Bill,
Oh, yeah.
That was a
Oh,
big one
Wild
for me.
and a great
Richard
book.
Pryor, and then
No.
that was Steve Martin.
Steve
but
Martin,
Richard
yeah.
Pryor had some funny albums, Live on the Sunset
Oh,
Strip.
Sunset
was it?
Strip was
Yeah.
great.
So that was awesome. And then you have, but there's certain milestones. Bill Cosby.
Himself.
Bill Cosby himself
Himself
is
was
hysterical
the
from beginning to
greatest,
end. So you could learn comedy by watching that.
Even though he's a freak and all this came
Yeah,
out,
yeah,
you look
yeah.
back and then
But
you're like,
putting that aside,
You-
looking at the comedy.
right,
is
looking at
funny.
just the comedy, it was incredible. The whole thing with my bottom lip, my
Yeah.
lap. When
When
he's
his
going
son
to the
shaves a
dentist.
bald spot in his head,
Oh,
and
my
he's trying to
God.
say you don't know how it happened.
Right. He had a
Was your
little
head
girl.
with you all day?
When he had a little baby girl and his father came in and said, you could still put a stem on that apple. 'Cause he never cursed. And all you got to do
No,
is
he didn't.
pinch the nose and blow in the mouth. Now, I thought this was ridiculous. But I'm sitting there trying to put her eyes back into her head and
Well, I had 3 daughters, and then eventually I had a boy. My youngest is a boy, and I tell people I finally left the stem on the apple, stealing from Bill Cosby.
Right.
Turned out to be a peach.
Nice. There you go.
What are you gonna do? He doesn't like sports. He likes science.
Hey, well,
okay.
oh, terrible.
That
you
must
have a
skip-
Sheldon Cooper.
That must skip a generation because I was cool, so I didn't have to worry about things like science and computers.
Right.
I learned this all. I didn't have any trouble with the ladies, so
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I didn't watch Star Trek.
You just had to become disabled to figure out how to hook a microphone.
Yeah,
That's
that gave me plenty of time.
Right. I had to break my back and a couple of bones in my neck and stuff just to figure out how to light this room, probably.
When did you first fall in love with plumbing? When did that become your passion?
I never had it. So funny. It's like in the Navy, I was a boiler technician, right? Which doesn't even exist anymore. It's an old BT's. The rate in the Navy, a job is called a rating. And my rate was BT, boiler tech. It doesn't even exist. They became MMs, which is a machinist mate, and they
So it's kind of like a
boilers.
pipe fitter.
Boilers.
Put him
Yeah,
down
well,
here to
MM is more of a
punish him and
pipe
teach
fitter,
him a
and
lesson.
HT, a Hull Tech, is
So
more
it's
of a
like a
pipe fitter.
plumber that could do math.
Well, no, a
No.
BT was the boiler room guy. Was like
Yeah.
an engineer.
Yeah.
But they don't have boilers. They have boilers now, but they're really more of hot water heaters and stuff. They're for water now. They're not for my ship was a full steam driven ship. Everything was run on steam.
So this was
two
this was-
600-pound steam
This was the
boilers,
first
5 stories
Ironside
high.
during the Civil War. How far back?
Oh,
Are we
you
going?
remember that? Yeah, true.
Were you shoveling coal?
Absolutely.
They thought they were going to teach him a lesson, putting him down there.
Yeah.
and
And they
he
gave him a
showed
trade
them,
instead.
you know, right.
Well, I have a college degree, and I stayed a plumber because by that point, I had so many kids. I mean, I had to make plumbing money. I couldn't
Right.
make mailroom money
Well,
and start over. You
Like
know?
when people tell me, "Oh my God, you charge more than a doctor," I said, "I was a doctor." That's
Yeah, why do you think
I'm
I
a
left?
plumber.
Why do you think I left
being
med school?
I left med school to become a plumber because we charge more.
When I became a pastor, I thought I'd only work on Sunday.
Yeah,
It doesn't work
You
that
found
way.
out that's the day of least work.
Yeah,
is
I don't
Sunday,
get days off. I get hours off where I
Right.
turn my phone off and nobody can call me.
Right, your pastor stuff happens 24/7.
Yeah, it doesn't end.
The problems come in on every other day but Sunday. Sunday's the light day. The Sunday's the day you enjoy. Now you look
Right.
forward to Sundays.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I can't wait to go preach for an hour and a half because these people won't leave me alone. My phone won't go off.
And by the time it's over, I take a nap like every Sunday, and then
Right.
everybody knows. Like,
Right.
can we
quiet time.
can we talk for an hour after church?
Right.
No.
But to go back to your question, because I didn't answer it, and my OCD said I must. I didn't want to. I didn't want to. When I came out of the Navy, I was like, I'm never doing that again. I hate that crap. And then I went and got a job as like a drain cleaner, doing like sewer and drain cleaning for a private company.
That's fun.
And that's where it began. I went from that to started. That we do. You do plumbing, but you were doing drain cleaning, and then you moved on, and I went from that to a plumbing company and everything else. And I did it all. I became a service guy, and 29 years later.
You see 8 or 10 people every day. You can tell the same jokes over and over.
Well, it's just like
That's
the stage. You go to the stage. Like you were saying, you kept trying to write new material all the time. And you could do that. You don't write it. I mean, you want to write. You write a writer. If you want to be a comic, anybody wants to be a comic, write. You write everything down.
Yeah.
You're never going to remember it. Oh, my God, that's so funny. I'll write it later. No, later you're going to go, what was so funny? It still happens to me. I write down. I talk into my phone. As soon as I go to notes right away. If I think of something, I'm like, oh, I have to give me a minute. Or I'll write it's not happening right here, but it would if something funny came up that I thought about. Yeah. I'll start typing in just enough to not forget it.
I remember being afraid to use it because I had worked it out so long in my head it wasn't funny anymore.
Yeah.
So at lunchtime it was killer. By the time I go to bed that night, I'm like, I'm cutting this.
Right.
I can't use this. This isn't funny.
Well, that's a little quicker than me, but yeah, you go through something and you. Like me, I can't stand in my bedroom and recite it. I write it down, and I have to go on stage and just word it out and feel it out. And you got to do it 15, 20 times, and then it becomes really good. And then you do it 30 or 40 times, it really becomes good. And then you really got it, you got some, good stuff there. And you can go anywhere and be funny because you have things that work. But you have to continuously.
And the audience helps. The audience makes you funnier.
Well,
or not. I mean, but generally it makes you funnier it's easier to make 100 people laugh than it is to make 2 people laugh.
Not really, because, when you have 100 people, you can stick to your material. When you have 2 people, you have to interact and talk to them because you can't just be there and sit there and start like, hey, 2 Jews walk into a bar. They bought it, but that's done. You can't. You got to interact. You got to like, hey, guys, do you know this? And you got to make it more personable and then really bring. So if you're just doing set-up punchline jokes, you're in trouble.
What was the hardest set you ever did?
God, there's been many. I mean,
There's been a few.
It's you have your bad nights, you have your good nights. Shoot, I just did a show 2 weeks ago in Brooklyn, at a boat club right in Sheepshead Bay, right across from the old original Pips. Yeah. Pips was fights to claim to be the oldest comedy club in the country. It was opened in the late '60s, early '70s. Before that, there was no, I'm kind of talking to the camera, but there was no comedy clubs. Comics used to be. In the 50s and 60s and 70s, up until that time, they would open for bands. You wanted to see a comedian, you would go to see like Diana Ross or something, and the opening act would be Howie Mandel, Howie. So that's where you seen comedy. You didn't really have a club, and in the early 70s, late 60s, there's a fight between like the Comedy Store, which was Pauly Shore's mom that recently passed away in California. I'm blanking on his name that started the Improv. And Pips Comedy Club, they all claim to be the first.
Yeah.
The Comedy Store is clearly the first in California, and Pips is clearly the first on the East Coast. So they definitely have. Right. But who was actually the first one? Who knows? But they were close. But prior to that, you didn't have a comedy club. People went to other places. So then comedy clubs became a thing and everything else. So now you have just that. Like down here, you have Snappers right down here. Which you've seen me at, and you've performed at yourself, I think, too, right? Or no?
No, I always went down to Clearwater, St. Pete Beach, the hotels down there.
Right, but me giving this whole history builds back up to me saying I was right across the street from Pips last week, which was the oldest. It's like the home of Andrew Dice Clay and guys. Yeah. I mean, Ray Romano, all the Kevin James, anybody who was anybody came through that club. It was the white man's Apollo, the Apollo Theater.
Kevin James, by the way, a natural. That guy is funny. Everything
and
he
don't
does.
Curse.
No,
he's not a. He might say poop, the S word, and that's about it.
But even his interviews are funny. If you can sit down and still be funny in an interview, like dynamically funny, that's something.
I have a few of my friends that worked with him and did movies with him and did like Vic DiPotetto. Vic. You seen Vic down here? Vic was in Mall Cop Blart 2, Part 2. He was the Staten Island when they had the convention.
You're gonna find it's hard to believe, but I didn't see it.
No, I don't find it that hard. It wasn't that good.
So I wasn't the guy that went to see that.
It was okay. I watched it on TV. I seen it more because my buddy Chris Monty's in it. Vic DiPoteto's in it.
Yeah.
And I am a fan of Kevin James. I mean, King of Queens is a great show.
Yeah.
It's not a bad movie if you watch it. It is pretty funny. It's got a lot of funny scenes. But I have guys I work with all the time that I'm friends with in that movie. There's a few more. But where was I going with that? Oh, anyway, but these guys all came through Pips. That's where I was going with
Yeah.
that.
So you were across the street
So
from
anyway,
Pips.
so I was across the
Is
street.
he? Does
from
he
Pips.
need medication or anything?
Pips-
Should I be?
No,
Is
no,
he
no.
okay?
Just
That's him.
if you leave me alone, we'll eventually get
He
back
brings
to.
it back around.
I'll always bring it back around. I know where I left off, but I might take you on a little.
I
trip.
already noticed you can get back to where you started,
Yeah,
which is I
absolutely.
can't. Once I'm gone, when it's gone, it's gone.
Well, you know, it comes natural. Like I guess to.
He always has that
On-
train of thought.
Yeah, but on stage, I think as a comedian, it develops. Oh yes, I would definitely do one of those. Thank you, please.
Yes.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah, so that happens. I think all comics can do it or develop it, where you know when you're in your head. But sometimes I forget, and I ask the audience, "Where was I?" And people, and now you're hoping they were listening. Yeah, like we don't know, we don't care. You're an idiot.
Right.
Oh, I'm sorry. Had you started?
Right. They know when I start. They're just hoping when I'm done. That's what it is. But
But yeah, the Brooklyn show is a little.
so
hard
that was a tough one because it was outside. It was right on the water. I was in grass. I was on the lawn, right on the water. But and a little old man who was about 87 years old was the DJ, and his mic equipment kept cutting out. So I'm there trying to do my thing, and it was me and Buddha, who called before, Buddha the comedian, another real funny guy. You could look him up, Buddha the comedian, Buda.
We should have been prepared with their website.
Which is, you can throw it up at BuddhaTheComedian.com, and I'm CraigLoydgren.com.
In fact, he's on your YouTube channel with you.
He does some things with me on that. Yeah. That's my boy. He's my best friend in the business and one of
So
my
we'll
best
plug
friends in
that.
life.
And
Yeah.
there's a link for him on your
And on my website, if you go to CraigLoydgren.com,
And he just FaceTimed, so I kind of know him.
Yeah.
Right.
So
You see
because-
him on the FaceTime.
Because we're like this now.
Well, he came down and did a show with me
Yeah.
last year here. I brought him down. Like
That's
this year, I
really
have two
cool.
local guys I booked. In fact, I wanted to plug them and just make sure. Yeah, it's the one guy, a local guy, Matt Fernandez.
Matt Fernandez,
Who looks
ladies
like,
and gentlemen.
looks like me, but he's a local guy. So if you guys are fans of this guy, come out and see him Saturday night. It's Matt Fernandez and John Murray, right? John J. Murray. I just wanted to make sure I said their names right. I didn't want to say it wrong, but John J. Murray and Matt Fernandez are the two opening acts, and then me Saturday night. So I booked two local guys, so I didn't want to take anything away from the local comedy scene. I wanted to bring some local guys in so I get to meet them so we know what's going on. And so the people down here get some local talent. Right. You should always know who your local talent is, you know, like people.
Well, there was, it seems to me, and this will kind of lead us into the next part of our conversation, but there was a time where comedy, to me, had its heyday, right? So the 80s, the
absolutely.
90s. So
78 to 95.
When I was doing stand-up, you can do and say anything you wanted. Almost
Absolutely.
nothing was taboo. And they were popping up. Every hotel on Clearwater Beach and St. Pete Beach had a comedy club in it, and they were succeeding. They were doing well.
Well, that's Grandpa's lasted for 17, 18 years
Yeah.
because it was just the place to go, the thing to do. People went and did comedy, and we went to the comedy shows, and it was great. And then the other topic is, did we go into this about the PC end?
Yeah, well, we'll lead that way because it seems that that while we had what was to me the kind of the heyday for comics in our age range, anyway, that there was comedy clubs everywhere. I remember Paul Rodriguez.
Oh, sure,
Spanish dude.
Absolutely.
He was headlining at like the Tampa Improv on West Kennedy or somewhere out there, and I got to do, we're talking about a hard set. I got to audition to open for him.
Right.
So I'm like, man, and I just randomly saw it in the paper, called, and they said, yeah, come on in Saturday morning. So I come in Saturday morning, and the place is trash from Friday night. There's somebody like doing accounting at a table, and there's a lady wiping off the bar.
Oh, and you're coming in for your audition, yeah.
And so I'm like, so they said, all right, go on the stage. They turned on the lights, and they're not even looking at me, bro.
No, they're listening.
And so they're cleaning, and the place smells like a leftover keg.
Right.
And I do 5 or 6 minutes, and not a laugh the whole time.
Because there's
Nothing.
nobody in there.
Yeah. So they're not even looking up and saying funny or anything like that. They're just doing what they got to do, typing, and so she goes. So they looked at each other when I was done. They looked at each other and said,
"Thank you."
They was like, "That was funny. Be here at 7 o'clock on whatever night."
Right.
And
so,
I was like,
you got the gig, right?
But that was, to me, it was the 6 minutes was like a lifetime.
Absolutely.
I could not get through it. I mean, and they thought it was funny, but I ended up not going for some reason.
What, really?
Yeah.
And
It was
Paul
like my big
Rodriguez-
chance.
Paul Rodriguez, which is one of the guys who went after Carlos Mencia all those years ago. It was
With
him
the,
with all the hacks stealing all the material and stuff.
Yeah, I just watched Joe Rogan tearing him up.
What, Mencia?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they're still
that was
talking about it?
2000. No, this was an old video, but it was 2004 maybe.
Yeah. No, yeah. Well, you know, the guy, unfortunately, if you hack, hack is when you steal other people's jokes. There's no one has the rights to anything. You only have, it's like a verbal thing. It's a
doesn't
rite
go
of
away.
passage. But you can't own the rights. It's not. There's no copywritten thing. You can't really copyright a joke. It's tough. Absolutely, and it's just the right thing and the wrong thing to do. So when he got accused of all that stuff, him and like George Lopez came out heavy and Paul Rodriguez came out heavy, and he's saying, dude, you're doing the whole bits. You're not even doing like a joke. You're doing the whole thing. Like, so, but that's just my Paul Rodriguez story.
That was
happens,
my part of
though.
the story. So now we look at, dude, I could do a whole set. I could do a whole set on Keurigs because they are freaking brutal. You got to talk dirty to them to make coffee.
make it work.
I can make a whole pot of coffee before that thing makes 1 cup, and it's got to heat up. Then you got to lift the lid. Then you got to put the lid back down.
Oh, yeah, it's a woman.
At one point, it grinds like it's making the beans for me. But I put the cup in there. I know it's lying. Right? It's like.
So, is that the cup you're making for me right now? Oh, thanks.
You're gonna
So
make me. You're gonna make me make it special. Or you drink it black.
You can just throw some of that powder in there. Well, what's special? You got any like French vanilla or something?
He's got some Germans
I look
over
like
there.
I'm
We
a
could
plumber, bro.
squirt
Do I look
that
like I
in.
have French vanilla available?
You look like you have a French maid outfit.
That's a different podcast.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's not Godlogic.
That's the after podcast.
There you go. That's it. Yeah, the Godlogic after
I don't know if
dark.
the audience can hear me now.
Yeah. But let's hope they can't. I hope you guys can't hear him right now because he's saying bad things.
Cream?
No, I guess so. You cheap bastard. No, yeah. No sugar. I don't do sugar. Well,
He's
not
crazy
no more.
enough.
Jeez, look at you. You just dumped that in there like you were. This was 1987.
He's a plumber.
No, it looked like 1987 on a Saturday night after payday. You see, if you guys are seeing what he looked like right now, he's laughing. I actually made him laugh, but
I don't know what he's talking about. This is gonna last me all weekend.
there you go. That's right.
11 o'clock, you're beeping again.
That's yeah. Then 2:30, then 4:15.
I don't know what they're talking about. If any of my parishioners or my lead pastor are listening, Craig, I disavow any kind of drug reference you may make.
I agree, but I also will say that the greatest, like I always say, the greatest police officers, the greatest pastors, the greatest people who are there to teach are people who have lived life already and lived on both sides. So when you do go to them for trouble, they actually have a real answer because they experienced it, not something from a book. Well, I read somewhere that if you do this, no. Be like, buddy, I was there. I was down to the bottom. I hit my bottom. You could feel their pain, which makes you a better
A lot of guys,
reverend, a preacher, whatever you want to call it.
and you also remain approachable. So if I had a velvet Bible and a leisure suit, people wouldn't talk to me, but they know Kevin the plumber, right? So
but they'd be watching you Sunday morning on TV as you
and I'd be
in.
rich in my helicopter. But I have guys ask, can I come to prison with you or come to jail with you to preach? And
thank God you finished that sentence. Can I come to prison with you?
If I had a nickel for every time somebody wanted to go to prison with me. So they, but some of them aren't cut out for it. They're cut out for something. But that may not be the environment for skinny jeans and Little House in the Prairie boots and tribal tattoos and a faux hawk or whatever.
Yeah,
that thing
that's not. Well, it is. That is for the inmates.
Yes, they would enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely. They're like,
Well, they could sniff you out quick, so they can tell if you're not coming from a place of legitimacy.
Absolutely.
If you're not speaking from experience, if you're speaking from a weekend seminar, you're dead.
Right.
And hopefully not literally, but you can lose these guys quick. They're not happy to be there.
Well, when you're sitting there, you're like, I'm sorry, I'm sweating, but I haven't done it. I haven't touched a drug in over 20 years, but I still get the sweats, right?
Well, some are sicker than others, bro.
Yeah, there you go. Some are sicker than others.
Hey, what am I funny? What am I clown?
What do I amuse you?
Andy, he's a big boy. He knows what he said.
But I love that because he goes, he's a big boy. He knows what he says. What did you say? But that's like the only line from that whole movie we can do in here right now. We're talking Goodfellas. For those of you who don't know, we were talking about that a little while ago. But there's so many lines in that movie that are great, but I just can't say most of them because they're.
All my life, I always wanted to be a gangster.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There you go.
That's how it opens for anybody that hasn't watched it. Because,
that and
Hey, one dog
Mark,
looking that way, one dog looking that way. The hoof, the
wing. What do you like?
Foot.
Hey, Henry, what do you like, the leg or the wing? Hey, Ma, I hit a deer. Can I take this knife with me?
So, were we having a podcast? I can't remember. Jen, were we about to have a podcast?
Yes.
All right. So, hypothetically, we're going to show a clip of. So we know where you've come from, right? Our topic tonight, and now we are. Dude, we're
we
like
really time?
Our hour's like up.
Why? So what? Is there another show after this?
No, I have somebody else coming in after you.
Do you really?
No.
The nerve.
Dude, I got 2 friends and they live in Staten Island.
We can go, bro. We can go for anher hour. Who cares? You might have to do some editing, or it's a 2-part show.
So let's do this. Let's cut to
Oh my God, you're putting something up on there, huh?
So this is
That's my website.
This is my computer screen. Guys out there can't see it yet, but this is also a camera angle. So I'm going to give you the opportunity. We can go to your YouTube channel, and I'll give you the opportunity to pick
a video. There's no videos.
Pick which video you think church people would like to listen to. There's
not a thing up there that a church. I curse a lot. I apologize to all my religious folks out there. I'm from New York. I have potty mouth. It's not. Please don't take offense to anything I say. When I curse, I'm not cursing at you. For the Southern people, when you meet a New Yorker and they're like, "Hey, yo, f this, f that, forget about it," they're not cursing at you. So never take offense to them. It's just verbal potty mouth. We just.
I'm not yelling. I'm Italian.
Right.
That's what it comes down.
Right.
Yeah.
Why
are you yelling? I'm not yelling. This is how we talk.
And there's a clip up there of me doing a bit about being 3/4 Italian. I'm trying to look up there if there's if you see some of those videos up there that I used to do when Vine was a thing, we were doing silly little. They were 7 seconds. It's as fast as you can go in 7 seconds. In fact, if you do that whole row, almost that second row, those are all Vine videos. So they're all 7 seconds long.
I don't want to see. I want to see
the actual stand-up.
I want to see you offend people. I want to see you be politically incorrect. Now, I watch these videos, and I can tell you I was offended by every second of it.
Absolutely. Good. I'm glad. I'm glad. Because if I don't offend you, then I'm doing something wrong.
He wants people to love him or hate him.
And it's funny. That's a bit of me doing a lot of little improv and work in the room, a little bit of stand-up. And having a good time opening for Vic DiPotetto. That was just me and him. I used to run with him all the time. In fact, I mentioned him as being one of my mentors and thanking him at the end of my special. Let's see.
But if this was going to be being on the Godlogic project is your big break, and you're bringing your A game, which video do I click on?
If you could take the word God out of the logic, I mean the first.
Bring home shit to my house. He doesn't. I'm like, Bud, please contribute something. You know what he brought home? A box of Oreo cookies. 1 box. Happened to be double stuffed, my favorite, but it doesn't matter. That's all he brought home. So now I'm in the kitchen, looking through the cabinets. He's sitting in the living room. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna eat his fucking cookies.
There you go.
So I'm looking in the cabinets, and I'm like, hey, Bud, where are those cookies? He's sitting on the couch. He's like, oh, they're up. You bought the fucking cookies.
I'm sorry.
Are you kidding me? Do you realize I didn't get laid for 2 years after you were born, you little prick?
Sorry about that. Wait. First one, I love that.
Bring home shit to my house.
Oh, you went backwards. Like, you just rewound.
Oh, wait. I think I got 2 open or something.
Hold on.
A box of Oreo.
Pause it. There you go.
How is it playing twice? Well, here's what's going on. In all the confusion, we got knocked off the internet, so maybe nobody heard any of that. So you may still get into heaven.
All right, there you go. Well, you know, I feel God has put comics on this planet to make people happy and laugh. And because, like what you're talking about with like political correctness or being clean or dirty, I speak the way most people speak or think.
Right.
I just bring it to the stage. Now, some people obviously don't curse or curse as much, but they do. You know, the people who act the most wholesome, I always say it all the time, the people who are really wholesome and, oh, how dare you, I'm so offended. I'm like, you know what? I want to see your web browser on your computer to see how really wholesome you are, because when you go behind closed doors, that's still, you know, I mean, if you want to go with the God thing, God sees you no matter where you are. Just because you want to act the part in front of me, and then you go home and you put on your guy and puts on his wife's panties and goes watch some horrible videos because he's a freak.
Yeah.
But in public, he acts like he's, you know, God's gift and this wholesome person. Don't be like that. Everybody has their flaws. We're all human. We all have our flaws. If we didn't have flaws, that's what makes us human. That's what makes us perfect. But by not being perfect. So if you have your flaws or your issues, or you're not, you know, you do what you do. Like, I love to make people laugh. And unfortunately, why I'm not more, I don't want to say religious, but like I told you, we were talking before, my buddies, I go to church once in a while with them, the First Bible, and it's a born-again church and stuff.
Yeah.
And but I don't become a member. I go once in a while because I believe in everything, but I feel I'd be a hypocrite to myself and to God that I do this on stage. Maybe at one point in my life, I will be not as vocal as far as being like cursing. I try to cut back to cursing, and sometimes I do shows where I can't curse. But when I'm just on a roll and I'm going off and I'm like bang, 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 and I'm hitting you, sometimes they come out and I don't even realize it. I listen back. I'm like, wow.
Well, being from New York makes a difference because when I was a kid, that's just how you spoke.
But I tease. I say it all the time. I say the F word is part of the 4 food groups. That's what I was going before. If you hear a New Yorker cursing, saying the F this, F that, the F word is part of it. It's eggs, beef, cheese, milk, and F. Like don't get offended. We don't look at it like that, and we just speak. It's not anything against you. Now, if I'm looking at you and I tell you to go do something like or something like that, you start cursing, that's a whole different ballpark. But if I'm just talking and cursing in my verbiage, if that's the proper term to use, it's just me being me. And when I'm open and I have no restraints, I go, man.
And I did too. And even as a Christian, I mean, before I became a pastor, now I knew I had to kind of pull back. So when I emceed for you, I was conflicted with being back on the stage again.
Right.
I was ready to go, but at the same time, I need to.
That was a great night too.
Yeah, it was funny.
Show. Yeah, we had over 300 people at that show. And
so, but I struggled with it, and I still struggle with it. So people that know me know that I can get out of hand, know. And but it's not that I think that I'm, somehow should be perfect. But I do try. I do lean into trying to be better, slowly but surely. But at the same time, I'm not somebody that gets rattled. But here's the thing. We have a generation now, younger than us, the millennials or whatever, that are college-age students that are rattled by everything. I watch stuff that Trump says, and I watch the media go off on him, and while I wouldn't have said it myself, it doesn't seem racist to me. You'd have to go a long way to connect racism to some of the things he says.
Absolutely. I totally agree, and it's not even being political. I stay away from politics and religion. Yeah. Believe it or not, when I do comedy, I'm
up to my ears in both, by the way, on this podcast.
Right. Well, there you go. So sorry, but
I'm a sucker for punishment.
I try to stay away from those 2 topics because they're the 2 topics that cause all the grief all the time. Yeah. And I don't want to offend anybody. And just, hey, you know what? We live in America. We live in a country where you're allowed to not like this person or like this person, but don't tell me who I should and shouldn't like him because someone says something right. That's where the political correctness comes in. I do a whole bit on this special about political correctness and how I'm not politically correct and how I hate what it's doing to this country and what it's doing to everybody where you can't even use certain words. And I do a whole joke about the word gay. Now, our son is gay. He came out of the closet 2 years ago.
Right.
And thank God, because kids kill themselves that don't. And, and that could be the alternative, that he was afraid to tell us because of me, because of my attitude and what I say.
Yeah, yeah.
He was afraid, and we were fighting for a couple of years, and we didn't know why. Me, more than with her, and then he came out, and we are like best friends again because he was holding back this. He thought he was wrong. He was dating girls till he was 22 because some of the things I would say.
Yeah.
But he knew he didn't like that. It wasn't his thing, but he was doing it because he thought he was wrong. So that's a whole other topic. But anyway, I do a bit about political correctness is killing. We can't even use the word gay anymore. I said, hey, when I was growing up, the word gay meant happy.
Yeah.
When I grew up, it meant happy. Like we all watched the Flintstones. It's in the theme song, and I sing those bars, we'll have a gay all the time. And then, of course, I get a little dirty, and I said, I don't think they were talking about like Barney and Fred hooking up. And I do
I don't think they meant like ball gags and stuff like that.
Right. Well, that's I just say, I think like Barney and Fred are hooking up, or Dino and Dino. But I do stuff like that. I say, gay meant happy, and a fag is a cigarette in England. I watch a lot of English television, and like, hey mate, I'm going to have me a fag. They're outside smoking and not like doing some dirty dog stuff behind the dumpster.
I told my daughter just the other day, we're looking for a movie to go to, right? And she's a big Freddie Mercury, the new Queen, that Queen movie came out.
Great movie.
So she starts telling me about this band Queen, which is hysterical.
Right. But Dad, you might have heard of them.
She's 13, and she's like, wait, you heard of Freddie Mercury? So anyway,
know who they are?
So we're deciding to go to a movie, and we saw the new Godzilla movie, which was lame, by the way. But we go to.
I was watching it on the Fire Stick, which is illegal. Don't do that when you go home. But
so I literally go like this to her. We're Googling movies, and I go, listen. I go literally. I don't want to see anything gay, meaning like The Notebook.
Oh, and right away she went, like Rocket Man or something? Okay.
So, no, in the same conversation, I said, I don't want to see anything gay. Ooh, Rocket Man, let's see that. So to me, there's gay like The Notebook, right? Where we talk about our feelings, and then there's gay. So but I don't think of it that way, so I don't mean it. Here's the problem I think what's happened in America is we've removed hate from hate speech. So anything could be hate speech if somebody, and people are waiting in line to be offended by stuff, but the danger in that is, how can you tell who the real racists are? How do you tell who the real homophobes are?
Right.
So while I don't celebrate your lifestyle, I don't hate you. My brother's gay, right?
Right.
But so there's two different.
Oh, is he?
Half the people that go to my church are.
Right. Oh,
so
really?
Yeah.
Oh, good. So
but
I thought you'd be one of those
diluted.
guys. No.
Yeah. You know me. So they diluted the hate speech so far that that now we don't really know who's hateful or who.
Well, here's what it is.
Who's dangerous to whom now?
Right.
It's hard to tell.
It's true.
Because they're afraid to offend anybody, right? And this younger generation, they're teaching them to, like, almost just the opposite. You don't have to offend anybody, but people are people. And people, the only people I find that the biggest racists are the people who are screaming that who's a racist. You're a racist. You're a I'm like, you know what? Well, you're a racist for calling me a racist, because who are you to put me in a category, you son of a gun? You don't even know me because I said one thing. That's why I don't think people should lose their jobs over saying something. Or you know, you get a slap on the wrist. Kevin Hart with the whole gay thing from. Now, my son is gay.
That was years ago.
And he even said, he goes, listen, I said it when I was younger. You know, the gay people, I'm sorry, but I'm not really going to apologize for my jokes.
I'd never apologize unless I really said something.
Wait, he didn't really apologize. He just said, he goes, hey, I'm sorry that you were offended or whatever, but he didn't really apologize. And he shouldn't have. No way should you ever apologize for what you said. Well, I shouldn't say no way, because there are times when maybe you need to apologize if you say something really blatantly, like if you're accusing someone. But for a comic to come out and do jokes and tell jokes, like I was teasing before, but I've been saying it my whole life. I really do believe that God has a special place in heaven, I hope, for comedians, because we do sacrifice a lot of our lives to
make
entertain
people, to distract people
from the horrors of life.
Yeah.
Life, I'd say it all the time. Life sucks. Excuse my language, but life stinks. All right, life stinks 80% of the time. You have crap. Just think of anybody in your own world, your drama with your wife and 2 kids. A family of 4 can't even stay together without turmoil. So things happen all the time. So if you can laugh at little things here and there and here and there, take them, embrace them, and enjoy them, because they're only going to last for a little bit. All the misery that you have in your life is right outside that door.
Yeah,
so
and it's waiting for you.
Yeah, so if you're going to laugh. And then you can't laugh at my black joke, and then my gay joke, and then my Spanish joke, but then you get offended at the epileptic joke.
Yeah.
Like, you can't categorize, and I said that because that is one thing. I do a quick silly joke about epilepsy and stuff, but it's really not about epilepsy. That's the catalyst that gets me to the joke. The joke is something else. Yeah. And I always say, if you don't listen to my jokes, actually listen to them, you're not listening. If you think that I'm picking on an epileptic, you're not listening to the joke, because I'm really not picking on an epileptic. I'm teasing myself. I tease. I can't even go into it here. You got to watch my special. All right.
Yeah, it's on Amazon.
It's on Amazon Prime.
You go to Amazon and you Google or Google or whatever it's called. Search inside of Amazon Prime.
Just Married and Miserable, or Craig Loydgren,
or Kevin Haggerty. Am I one of the keywords in there?
No, not at all. So yeah, please don't type in Kevin Haggerty. You're gonna find.
Yeah, you don't want to see what you find when you. Anyway, let's get back on topic. What here's the thing, and I had this conversation. What my brother and I, my younger brother, laugh about more than anything is sexuality. Everybody's sexuality, right? So, and he's funnier than I am when it comes to the topic of homosexuality. He's ready to joke about it. But so,
and he's the gay. Is he the gay one?
Yeah. And so one day he tells me,
me and my son get along great now, because I tease about it. And the stuff we'll get right back to the stuff I'm doing on stage right now, like my newer stuff about him coming out. Yeah. And that way we're all like not dealing with it, because we dealt with it fine, but just what came from it and everything. It's all very, very true, very, very honest, like everything I do on stage.
And is that not what makes it funny?
But it's not only is it what makes it funny, but I have honestly, no lie, 50, 60 times at least in the last year, guys have come, mostly guys, sometimes women, but mostly men, and some Spanish guys mostly, and almost crying that their kid's gay, they don't know how to deal with it, and listening to what I just said and going through my experience, bringing it into my world, they're like, it's not so bad. Yeah. What you said was so funny and so true and everything. Because I say, I love him. He's my son.
What are you going to do other than that? And
how do you disown your child and then be rightful or righteous? How could you say, like, you're a man of God and then disown? Because I see this a lot. Right. And it happens, unfortunately, more often not in very religious families, no matter what the denomination of religion is. But you have a very religious father or mother, and they will disown their child. How do you disown your own child?
Some of them throw them off roofs. Some religions, you toss them off a roof.
Well, you go to other countries and they kill them. Yeah. It's your child.
So it
doesn't make them a bitch.
It's insanity.
Actually, you go to a bar or a club, gay bars, and no one ever fights. They clean up after themselves. You know what I mean? No lie. My buddy owns a bar. He used to do a gay night, and he had to close it down because the community was getting mad at him. Yeah. So he had to stop doing gay nights because the community was mad. And he's like, are you kidding me? Not only is it my best night of money, my bartenders are happy because it's their best night of tips. Cleanup is a minimal, and I have a bouncer here. It's more to escort people back and forth to their car. It's like doorman more than a bouncer.
Who was your best customers when you do a remodel or something? I
always
had gay customers, and they teased me and I teased them.
They didn't worry about price. They wanted you to do the right job. They wanted you to do it right.
Beautiful.
And just pay. Yep. Right. All these other people are crying, complaining about everything, and they would But so it's just so.
Well,
that's
to me,
that hypocritical thing that we're talking about again.
Right.
To me, the thing that people forget, or that they should remember, that I told Billy when we were fooling around, is that I wouldn't worry about the people that are laughing. I'd worry about the people that aren't laughing.
Right.
Those are the people that have a real problem.
Right. The people that laugh and get it. Yeah.
So
yeah.
I won't use any names, but I'm on lunch and we're watching TV at my house, which is where for a while the plumbing company was out of the house, out of the garage, and so I'm with my guy that works for me, and we're watching something about homosexuality. It was one of the big milestones of homosexuality 10, 15 years ago.
Right.
And he got upset, like upset. I mean, they should die, they should be burned, they should be this. This is 15, 20 years ago.
Right. Oh, yeah,
and
it still happens today.
Yeah, so I'm laughing. I think it's funny, but this guy is getting steam, so I'm thinking to myself, thou dost protest too much. Maybe spend a little too long a time in the Boy Scouts, but he was angry, bro. I mean, he was not happy.
Sometimes you'll find people that are angry or are oppressing their real feelings of sometimes even being gay. Like,
Jeffrey Dahmer was a homosexual that was also a homophobic, so he struggled with the idea.
Well, because a lot of it's the way your upbringing. Again, my son was afraid to come out because of some of the crap that came out of my own mouth. Of things I said, because I said stupid things. But a lot of it's in joke or in jest, but some of it might have been serious at the time. You know, he would get mad. I used to always say, like, because again, I'll say it, I'm not afraid to say it. I'm Republican. I voted for Trump, and I'm a Republican, but I have some liberal views about things, human stuff like this, like gay stuff. They don't have, you know, I things like that, same-sex marriage. I could care less. You know, love is love, and it really is.
I would add to that, as long as you don't compel the churches to do it. But after that, fine.
Right. Well, you know, whatever that is, that's its own thing. But where was I going with this? What was I even just saying? What was I just saying? See, sometimes I do lose my train of thought because we were doing because you said that. And all I wanted to do was say the power of Christ compels you. I had the Exorcist in my head.
I think you found yourself. To do it, but I think you found yourself strangely attracted to me. Was I staring too long?
Well, you know, you do look good, bro.
I look good, don't I? Yeah, for a guy with a broken back.
Hey, listen, you know what? Get back, heart attack. Seeing there's nothing. It's a religious show. I can't even say anything to tease you right now. Oh, no, but what I was saying was, I don't know. At the end, I was saying I was Republican and everything, but I have some liberal views. But I have some conservative views. You know, I look at what's right what's right for the country and for the world. What you should worry about and what you shouldn't worry about. Don't worry about two guys or two girls getting married when our vets are living on the street homeless after they served 2, 3, 4, 5 tours over in Iraq and Afghanistan, and now they're coming home and they can't get back into society. Worry about those people. When you get that fixed, then worry about like something silly like the gays or something like that. Worry about the real problems. Worry about work for the American people. And that's what we're going back to with the political correctness. Everybody's so worried about everything else and offended by everything else. They forgot the real thing. You know, we all have to go out. Most of these kids and people that are offended don't have a real job. I work with millennials. They sit around, and I'm not all millennials. My own children are millennials. But I work with a couple of guys, and every chance they get, they sit down and they're on their phone. They sit down and they're watching videos on their phone. I'm like, what are you doing? We're working. Well, I don't got nothing to do right now. Well, go find something to do. You're on the clock. Go clean a truck. Like, I don't care. Go do something. You're working. You're not going to sit here and watch videos while I'm under a sink or something. I'm 50 years old. I'm bent over underneath a sink. Oh, I'm almost 50. But, doing the work, and you're sitting there watching a video on your phone. And then when I tell you to go get something from the truck, well, don't talk to me like that. Oh, I'm sorry I offended you. Could you please go to the truck and get me a wrench, you little piece of crap? And I was going to say something even worse, but I stopped myself. But that's, the political correctness. And I am not politically correct. And I do the joke, like I said, about it. And I will stand my ground. I will not apologize. I do a joke about Kurt Cobain. Years ago. I
saw it. I laughed at it today.
Yeah, dude, isn't it funny?
Yeah.
I only did that joke 20 times. The video, I put that video up. It got all pixelated. I actually have a good copy of that at home. For whatever reason, it went up crappy. But did you read the hate?
There is so much.
No, I didn't.
There's so much
People
hate.
either love it and think it's funny for what it was, or they want him. They say like horrible.
Now these are the
things.
same little kids the same younger people that are offended at everything. Like, oh, I can't believe you said that. I'm so offended. How can you talk about suicide? You piece of crap. I hope you die.
Yeah.
Like you just hoped I die because I said so. At what point are you offended that you're saying I'm being offensive, but I'm making a joke? All right, yeah, the guy killed himself, but he's a public figure. It's out there.
Yeah.
And you see it, I just pull my shirt up and I slide down the wall. All right, it was silly. Maybe it's a little offensive or whatever, but I don't give a crap. And the only person I would ever apologize to is his daughter. because I don't want to hurt her feelings. But that's it. After that, I don't care. But for you to say that's offensive and then tell me to die, kill myself, or if I seen you on the street, I'd stab you in the face, you are being hatefully horrible and hateful.
So the tolerant left, particularly the left, but tolerant people tend to be the least tolerant people. And I, being a pastor, I'm in a precarious situation.
In the middle. You got to ride the road, man.
So I am not Christian enough for some Christians, and I'm too Christian for other Christians, right? So they want to pressure me to do this or don't do that, or try to defeat Scripture, which I hold to Scripture. That's my plan. That's I think what we're supposed to do.
Right.
So but it is not just outside of the church, but inside of the church, you run into the very same thing. So I watched a guy. I taught a class on this, but I forget his name, but he's being interviewed by Oprah or somebody, and he says, and he's a pastor, by the way, and he says, he said, and I'm paraphrasing, he said, I don't think we should draw our morality out of 2,000-year-old letters. Well, that's what a pastor does. Right. That's what your church pays you to do, is to draw the morality out of those 2,000-year-old letters. Right. So it's absolutely insane. So I'm obviously more, if you can use the term, more Christian than that dude, right? But then, you know,
absolutely. Well, you have to you want to live by the word, by God's word and what was written. That's my thing. I always say too. I believe in God. I believe in Jesus. I believe in everything. I do have a problem with church, with some uniform religion in churches, because men run that, and it gets very political, and it gets to, if people donate money, and I'm not saying little churches, stuff like that. I'm talking about big, like Catholicism and stuff. Like, I grew up Catholic, and I'm not bashing the Catholic Church and stuff, but being so big and structured the way it is,
and powerful,
and political and powerful, when you go to do something, they can't. I was saying it to you before, like if you were poor and you were on the street and you went to the Catholic Church and you were friendly with, if you, first of all, well, you know, it's one of those, well, do you belong to this parish? Well, no, not this parish, because I'm homeless. Well, what parish do you belong to? Well, I don't really have one, but I need help. You know, I was hoping you could help me. Well, how much money have you donated in the last year? I'm homeless. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm homeless. I need help. So you go to that, but you go to a church like this church, like the church you go to, and you come in and you say, listen, man, I'm homeless. I need some help. And you guys will help that person. You say, listen, you got to do this, this, and this, but we will help you now.
We get food out of our cupboard sometimes.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. You guys help. It's
we obviously smaller. Not balling around here for anybody that doesn't know my church.
It's a smaller church, and they give what they get. Like they're not that they're not putting it.
Well, our entire staff is unpaid, so we have everybody that works here has another vocation. They're bivocational. Everybody that we consider a staff member
is volunteering their services.
Yeah, they don't get paid, but they are responsible for everything, like as if you were getting paid, but you don't get paid.
Right. Well,
but that takes a certain special kind of person to be.
But that's why they're all here. They all found themselves, and because they all needed help themselves, they come here, and now it's easier to help someone else that you see. Now, if you try to help the same person 3, 4, 5 times in a few months, and it feels like they're just scamming you, say, listen.
That happens.
I can't.
We do a lot of that.
I did it 5 or 6 times in the last few months. You're not helping yourself.
Yeah.
Now you have to go to a program. You have to go do that. And when you come out, we'll help you. But until that time, but that's like.
But do we give them fish or do we teach them to fish? So if you are just giving them fish, you're failing.
Right. You got to teach them to fish. So, right. Give a man a fish, he'll have a meal for the day. Teach a man a fish, he'll eat for their life.
So recovery, and I'm the recovery pastor. One of the things I cover here is recovery. But in recovery, we can't do it for you.
Right.
So you've got to. And given my background, I've seen a lot more than probably a lot of pastors or a lot of Christians or church people seen. And there are some people that get involved with people around churches that are in way over their pay grade. So this is a Class A manipulator that I've known for 10 years. Right. And now you're letting them live in your house. Well, guess what? They're not going to leave.
Right.
They're not getting a check next month.
Taking advantage.
All that stuff they told you is not true because they told me that.
Right.
Right. As soon as, bro, you put the word pastor in front of your name, and you might as well hang a target around your neck, because I was like a month after I was ordained, and they blew me up for not responding quick enough to somebody that I've been dealing with for 10 or 12 years.
Right. So listen, I played his game. He can wait a little while.
Yeah.
Right.
So
he's only going to manipulate, take from me. I'm going to give it to him.
But people that are outside of the recovery community don't recognize what we recognize, or what I recognize, being engulfed in this for 30 years.
Right. Speak for yourself, white man. Go ahead.
Yeah. So there is. It's very difficult it's a very fine line you walk as a pastor and as just an American. So the big push is...
And it's Johnny Cash.
Yeah.
He walks the line, too. Sorry.
I keep a close watch on this heart of mine.
There's almost nothing you can't say that I can't relate to a film or a song.
Music. Yeah,
or something.
my kids make fun of me because I break out in song.
Yeah, me too, all the time. I can.
So we're going to watch a video, and I have to... I might get a copyright strike here, so I've got to be careful. But we're going to watch a video with Jerry Seinfeld.
Okay, before you even do, is this him about the colleges, about not being able to do colleges?
Yeah. So the trouble with doing colleges, basically. Now this is, I'm going to plug this, and I'm also going to put it in the. I'll put the link to this video in the description after the video is permanently uploaded.
Now, I never watched this video, but I do know, obviously, the outcome and what had happened with it as far as, him saying he doesn't do colleges anymore because the kids today. Now, this is Jerry Seinfeld.
And he's not a college guy anyway, so he wasn't. He's speaking
he was
about
never
something.
bad. He didn't do heavy political.
If you're offended by Jerry Seinfeld, you're soft.
Well, right. What is wrong with you?
Yeah.
What? Why? And again, most of the people that are offended are the ones that will actually turn around and say something very offensive in defending that they're offended.
Yeah.
So it's like, how can you? It's like that. How could you say you're offended, but almost in the same breath, you're offending me and other people by bashing us to the degree of hatred and anger.
And it doesn't matter what they say. It doesn't even have to be close to true. So you know who Ben Shapiro is.
Right.
He's Jewish. He's an Orthodox Jew, so he observes the Sabbath. He wears a yarmulke. They were calling him a white supremacist.
Right. Oh yeah, they
bash
him.
Nazi.
They beat him up because people don't listen. Well, you know why? Because anybody that's Trump is a Nazi. Like if you're pro-Trump, you're a Nazi, and you're offended.
The big push was if you support Trump, you're a racist, whether you know it or not. That was a week ago. They were saying all of a sudden they're putting out that.
Whether you know it or not. Well, you know what? I know I'm not. Well, I here's what I know. I say all men and women, but all people have are racist. Yeah. There's a form of racism, and no matter what, white, black, yellow, brown, blue, everybody will tease the other race. Everybody will tease the other religion. But if you're doing it like in a joking manner, that's one thing. If you're going out and shooting people and targeting people, that's hatred and anger. If you're going out to specifically hurt somebody, that's hatred and anger.
If you refuse to hire them, if you move out of the neighborhood because they moved in.
Right.
The best employee I ever had, by the way, was a gangbanger from Detroit.
Right.
So it is, and his dad was a friend of mine, and asked if I would hire his son. I show up. I tell him, all right, have him be at the supply house in the morning. And, he's got like $1,000 worth of clothes on, and he's going to be a plumber, right? And he's like, yo, what's up, and all this stuff. And I'm like,
really?
You sure you're ready for this? I said, you know I'm a plumber, right? Because we're at a plumbing supply house. He goes, yeah, I know. And, you're friends with my dad, whatever. I said, do you want to stop by your house and get a change of clothes? He goes, no, it's all right. And I'm like, bro, you got those are like $150 sneakers you're wearing. We're about to dig a sewer line. So we ended up, by the end of it, he worked for me for years, and he used to call me daddy, and his dad would get mad that he would take advice from his dad. Why don't you go ask your white daddy then,
Right.
But there was never, we busted chops all day, and if you're on a construction site, nothing's off limits. Otherwise, it's just a hard job. If you're not laughing, it's just a hard job, right? So but he turned out to be the best employee I ever had. But I had customers that would say, they would name off everybody in the crew. I don't mind if you leave A, B, and C, and D, but I'm uncomfortable with you leaving E in my house alone. Him.
Right.
And this is my right-hand man. This guy is in my house when I'm not home. So he's playing Xbox with my kids while I'm at the store.
Right.
And so it does exist, and that to me is racism, right?
Right, that absolutely is.
But it's not every time. Now, as a plumber with my head shaved and tattoos and riding a Harley and boots, and you know what a plumber looks like when he's working.
Right.
My customers assumed that I was racist. Some of my older customers would just assume I was racist, and they would pass comments like that. Well, I come from a multiracial family.
Right.
So
me too. Us too.
So they would start talking about typical stereotypes. They probably don't even know any black people, by the way.
Right.
So how can they even? What drives me crazy is people talk about the rights of the homeless and these left-wing Ivy League guys. I bet you they never even had a cup of coffee with a homeless dude. I've eaten McDonald's with a homeless dude and a lawyer at the same table with the same problems, But they talk like they virtue signal how special they are and how they're so lit or woke or whatever.
Right.
They don't live the life that I tend to live. They don't turn in the circles that I turn in.
Right.
So they don't really. It all has to do with making themselves feel better about themselves, right? So they are, if they're living godlessly, they make a god of something. They make a god out of themselves. How woke they are. So it is. They tend to be then waiting to get offended, and we got colleges pumping out two generations now of people waiting to get offended, and not prepared to pick up a shovel.
No, in fact, I don't know what's going to happen to this country in the next 20 years as far as workers and employees. That's why it's going to a lot of the foreigners, because our own kids and stuff are just lazy.
Yeah.
They don't want. They expect everything to be given to them. I'm not saying all kids, but for the most part,
too many of them.
Too many
might
of them
be the last generation
are
of
waiting.
people that hit work
they
like
want
we do.
they want the top pay grade. They want to be the boss, but they don't want to do anything to earn it. And then they get offended about everything. They don't want to sweat nothing. 2 days ago I was in catch basins.
Yeah, I went through helpers like crazy. They would hire a helper for me at a plumbing shop, and the guy wouldn't come back the next day.
I have a 20-year-old kid that works with us, and he's great, little Spanish kid from the hood.
Yeah.
He kind of broke out of the hood. He's an exception to the rule. He wants to work. He wants to, not that he's from the hood, but he grew up in the house and stuff. But right there,
but he knows what it takes to get ahead.
He lives across the street in a house across the street from the Mariners Hall, but projects.
Yeah.
So he's pretty. That's a project development. In Staten Island. That's pretty rough. It's pretty rough. So but he's 20 years old. He's not even 21 yet. He's been working there since he's 18. He's dropped out of high school. He's going back. He's finally just getting his driver's license. He's getting his GED to try to better himself. But he's out there even though he's a bit of a millennial with some things, he's out there getting dirty and working hard.
Yeah.
And he's an exception to the rule. And he would have otherwise fit all his friends. He's like, yeah, they're all still home. Like, he still plays his PlayStation and stuff, but he's working 50 hours a week and then playing his PlayStation. Whereas friends, he goes, yeah, my 2 or 3 of them came to try to work for us a day, 2 days. They can't do it. Can't do it. They're lazy little bastards. It's just too much. Excuse my language.
This might be reverse prejudice, but when I pulled up to a construction site and I saw Mexicans digging,
you were happy.
I was like, this is going to be a good day.
Yeah, because they're going to work hard.
They did it quick. They did it well, right? They considered 22 to 22 and a half, 45, 90 degree.
Yeah.
I had some rent-a-drunks dig a trench for me one time. No offense to rent-a-drunks. And
what's rent-a-drunks? It's
just like you hire guys off at a Home Depot parking lot for the day.
Yeah, but are they Mexican or white guys?
No, white guys generally.
Oh, yeah. No,
they generally live in Holiday.
And get Mexican.
So they probably attend my church. That's why I had to apologize.
Right.
So, but I get out to the sewer line. I leave them. I set them up. I get back, and they put a round turn in a sewer line, like a quarter circle turn.
Right.
And I'm like,
because pipes go like that.
Because you can bend pipes.
It's a long sweep. Oh yeah, you can.
Let me get that 8-foot long sweep that I have.
8-foot long sweep. Yeah.
So and then they were like offended that they had to fix it. You know?
Right.
I'm like, put a 45 here, put a 45 there, and fill that in. We're not even using that part of the hole.
Right.
But
you guys are making a loop here for a highway. We need to make a 90-degree turn.
So yeah, everybody's a plumber. Everybody at Perry Channel Locks is a plumber until I leave the job. Then all of a sudden they can't figure out. Can you come back and help me? Well, if I'm going to be there, I don't need you there.
Right.
I can do it myself. The idea is I'm on this job, you're on that job. That's how I make more money.
See, I have no problem with the Mexicans here, but I still think we need the wall just to regulate anybody.
Well, it starts with the wall. The first thing it starts with is getting some portable housing down there, some of that FEMA housing for those people. Yeah. Not that they can stay, but they shouldn't be in crates or whatever the situation is. Some of those pictures, by the way, for 2014. And who was president in 2014? I can't remember.
That would be Obama.
Obama. My least favorite president, by the way, and not because I don't like black people, because I didn't like Obama.
Yeah, no. It's all, you know what? My thing is all about the person, not about the color. And that's what I said before. Everybody's racist to a degree. Everybody has issues, and no matter what color you are, you're going to tease. But unless you have that hatred, I'll tease.
That makes it different.
I don't care what color you are, what race you are. But now, if you piss me off, I might say something to you and bring in your race or your religion because I know it.
But their argument would be then that was boiling up inside you the whole time.
Bull crap. It's not premeditated. I wasn't sitting around waiting for us to have a fight or an argument, which I don't. I usually diffuse most situations. Again, I'm a comedian. I want to have a good time. I try to. I've come across many of issues and problems where I come in and I'm the guy that tries to talk everybody off the ledge. I'm the one that diffuses the situation as opposed to escalating it. And every once in a blue moon, I get mad and it escalates. But for the most part, I'm the guy that comes in and tries to be the voice of reason and balance everybody out. So don't ever call me a racist just because I agree with something or disagree with something. Yeah,
well, this is the problem. They moved the line. Now we can't. And by the way, they don't get to define. If we're going to make definitions, it's not one party that gets to define everything because they could change it however suits them.
Anytime they want. So that's why I say, how do you know? We don't even know what offends you until after I say it. And then after I say something, oh, that offends you? I didn't know it offended you before, I said it now, and now that offends you. But you know what? I'm offended that you're offended, and I can really give a crap.
And what about the Jeffersons? What about Archie Bunker?
Well, help me, Lord.
7 vicious Jews that'll tear you apart.
Hey, Edith, we can't go out. The blacks are next door.
Well, we're going to watch, I'm going to set it up here, but we're going to watch a This is Jerry Seinfeld on The Late Night with Seth Meyers. There'll be a link in the description below.
And it
is from The Late Night with Seth Meyers website, Facebook page, and I will credit them. I'm trying to get a fair use out of this, so I don't get a copyright infringement.
Could we watch the intro to Archie Bunker after this? All in the Family.
All the way Glenn Miller played.
Songs that made the hit parade. Guys like us, we had it made. Those were the days.
All right, Jen, we brought you in for a very specific reason.
I know.
She's hitting me over. Bro, she just hit me like 5 times. She's just
stop.
Just be quiet.
It just wasn't hard enough.
All right, here we go. Here we go with our video. It is from The Late Night with Seth Meyers website, Facebook page. Why am I hearing myself? And I will credit them. I'm trying to get a fair use out of this, so I don't get a copyright infringement.
Could we watch the intro to Archie Bunker after this? All in the Family.
This
is your job.
What? Songs that what the hell is going on?
It's all Craig.
Guys like us, we had it made.
Craig's fault.
Those were the days.
How in the world is what we talked about 5 minutes ago? Jen, we brought you in for a very specific. There we go.
What were you just playing us over on the thing?
So it must have been on mute the whole time.
And you remember he's like, "Oh, don't mock my audio stuff here." You know what?
Yeah. Somebody needs to learn how to use it.
Yeah. I'm mocking you.
Hey, I am a plumber, bro. I'm not a.
Let me give you a wrench so you can fix that rewind.
I didn't watch Star Trek. If that tells you anything.
Oh, I did.
No offense.
Didn't help me either.
No. All right, this is Seth Meyers and some guy I don't know from the Esquire magazine, and Jerry Seinfeld, who some
you
of
don't know a guy from the Esquire magazine. You
and I subscribe to that.
You look like a guy that would subscribe to the Esquire magazine. Now, I'm sorry, I probably just offended somebody because I told
somebody that reads Esquire. If I read Esquire, I'd kick my own ass at red lights. Only kidding.
I don't read it. I just look at the pictures.
Yeah. I do it. I buy it for the cologne.
Comedy is, I do think, is supposed to push towards the lines of the medium. There are more people now who will let you know if they think you went over the line than ever before.
Don't I know it?
I mean, you have to feel the same way about comedy.
Yeah, but they keep moving the lines in for no reason.
Right.
Yes.
I do.
So
this
that's the
joke
problem. That's
about,
what we just talked about.
The way people need to justify their cell phone. I need to have it with me because people are so important.
Right.
You know, I said, well, they don't seem very important the way you scroll through them like a gay French king.
All right, now, did you get offended?
No, that was great. Why, people got offended him saying gay French king?
Well, that would probably not play on a college campus right now.
Yeah, well, I was doing college gigs with Pete, Pete Davidson. From
yeah, we'll talk about him, by the way.
Uh-oh.
He's on my list.
Uh-oh.
He owes you.
Well, whatever.
No, not whatever. I'm going to fly up to Staten Island. Does he know who I am?
No, but it sounds like he's going to find out.
I'll call Grand City. I have to speak Russian to call Grand City now. All right, here we go.
Well,
that's very offensive to the gay French king.
Right.
Yeah. I did this line recently in front of an audience, and it's where you can kind of feel like an opinion.
Oh.
And they thought, what do you mean gay? What are you talking about gay? What are you saying gay? What are you doing? What do you mean?
Right, so
you know?
Just the word gay.
And I thought, are you kidding me? I mean, we can't even. I could imagine a time, and this is a serious thing. I can imagine a time when people say, well, that's offensive to suggest that a gay person moves their hands in a flourishing motion, and you now need to apologize. I mean, there's a creepy PC thing out there that really bothers me.
But you could.
So what if you then, as a comedian, in the clubs, do you get the pushback that he's saying or people say that you get on a college campus?
Well, here's my thing. No, you come to a club, and I'll say this in a club. You're in my house.
Yeah.
You come to a comedy club. You're coming to a comedy club. You can't write what you or request what you want to hear. You're coming to see comedians that are going to do what they are talking about. If I go and do like this show is a one-nighter, but it's a comedy club. So, I mean, it's a comedy night. People are coming out for comedy, like the show is Saturday night.
Yeah.
So when you're in those situations, you should not be not able to say anything within reason. My only rules are that I don't ever say the C word because it hurts too many people, and it's kind of a nasty word, even though it's one of my favorites. But
I never was a big C word guy.
Yeah, well,
crazy, right?
Well, I'm not. You never ever hear it come out of my mouth on stage, and it's the one only real request that
Jen makes you not say.
No, that I ever ask other comics. I never try to bust guys' chops about their craft.
Yeah.
Your craft is you're here with me because I like you. The one thing I ask you, just try not to say the C word because then people cringe and everything else.
And some things are art and some things are offensive.
Right.
And who gets to decide that,
and
right?
now there's other guys that I won't, like the Reverend Bob Levy. He says it probably about 5 or 6 times in his set throughout the night.
Because his C word is like your F word.
Right. But it's funny. Like, I would never want him not to say it.
Yeah.
He's just funny when he's doing, and he's pretty raw and raunchy. And when you're coming to see guys like him,
is he a real reverend?
No, he got the name. Reverend Bob Levy got that name from Jackie the Joke Man Martling from the Howard Stern Show. For those of you guys who know the Reverend Bob Levy, he had his own show on Sirius XM called The Miserable Men Show with Shuley and other guys from.
Did they get taken off because of political correctness?
No, he got taken off because he had a fight with Howard because he wanted more money, and he went off on Howard, calling him all sorts of bad name. But they're both Jewish, but he just went off on him.
Well, that explains it.
That he wanted more money, and he should have never. That was his only thing. He should have never did that. But just for his own like himself, like he shot himself in the foot by doing that, and then he got kicked off.
Kramer lost his mind
with the whole N-word,
right.
right, with the, because he didn't know what else to say. Like, that's just crazy. If you don't know what to say, don't say anything.
Yeah.
Move on. Go to something else. Make a joke that you can't think of anything. I have no good comeback. Sometimes what the audience will say something to you. Like if I'm like you said, when we go to a comedy club, you're in my house.
Yeah.
I am bringing you.
It's like going to church and be offended by the gospel.
Right. Why are you there? I'm like, oh my God, these guys are so religious. Well, you're in church, What did you want, A card game? But so that's it. But now if you go to, but even it's amazing. If you're going to any place, the only time I say you can't really attack the audience is if, like, say you're doing a bar gig.
Yeah.
And you're in a bar, and there's a lot of them, and they're horrible mostly, or they're just not great because you're in a bar, and sometimes they don't even turn the TVs off. Oh, well, turn the sound down. So now you're doing comedy.
And the game's on.
The game's on, and every once in a while, 7 guys are yelling in the back, and they go, oh, thanks. And
I love you too.
Scored. Yeah, and like, oh, never mind. But you got that one guy at the end of the bar that's drowning his sorrows because he's miserable, and he just worked all week, or he's divorced, or he's alone. And
used to be me.
Right. But he's sitting in the corner. And he is not there for you or anything else. So leave him alone. You can't really go after that guy. That's the only time I ever say that you can't, like control the room or say, and I even say, hey, listen, buddy, you know what? You're down there. Do your thing. I'm sorry if I'm offending you. Go, I'll be done in 20 minutes, or I'll be done in a half hour.
But in a club, it's different. They're there to laugh.
And then most of the time, because I address them like that, they'll turn around and start listening. Because I'm like, listen, you look like you're having a bad day. Me too. You want to listen? Tell me if you agree with any of this stuff. Like you're trying to bring it in. But you can't be like, hey, you're not listening, or you're putting your back to me, or you're talking. Like, you can't. That's the only time you can't say anything when you're in like a bar or a situation like that where someone else is there not for the comedy. But if you come out to a comedy club, or if you go even to a college, now I was doing with Pete. I was doing colleges. I did like 20 colleges. It was great for almost a year. I was going out doing, once a month or whatever, once every couple of weeks. We were going out different states, I was performing for 1,500, 2,000 kids. And some of them were getting me and some of them didn't. I'm a little older, but I talked to all of them. I used to always tease and say, you're just like my kids. You're the same age as my kids. That's why a little bit of me hates each and every one of you. I would tease them with stuff like that. Right. And I did really pretty well. I had a couple of bad nights. You always have bad nights. Like you asked before about, you have bad nights.
Your roughest night, where
and I never even, like that gig before that I never finished talking. The moral to that one was I had to do 45 minutes, and I did about 50, but my mic cut out about 7 times. So right in the middle of something, the mic would cut out, and then I had to walk over to the old man, and he's unplugging the mic and giving me another mic, and I'm plugging it back in. Now I got to go back to these people. So when my boy Buddha and me did the gig, and Buddha doesn't really work the room. He's more of a material guy. He does. Yeah. He's great comic, but he's not an interacting guy like I am. So I was like, I'll go first, interact, get everybody motivated. We'll have a good time. We had to do 45 each. So I went up and did like 50 minutes. And for him, when he got another mic, I took the thing and I tied it in a knot because it was the wire loose 20 feet away. But I'm all over the place.
Like an extension cord.
Right.
Like on a job.
And I gave him about 10 feet of slack. I said, dude, don't go any further than this. And he stayed within a 5-foot perimeter, and he had a great night. The thing never cut out. But for me, the mic went out 7 times. So when you're saying a bad night, the show itself wasn't bad. The people loved me and had a great time, thought I was crazy and wild, all this stuff.
You just have to adapt.
But the mic cutting out, I had to literally stop right in the middle of my set, walk over to this old man who was up on a little second floor balcony, and he's like, "Here, try this microphone." He had 3 microphones. Try this wire. No, this one works. Because 5 minutes later, it was cutting out.
It happens when you
again.
preach too. By the way.
Right. Oh yeah, absolutely. And if you walk around like me, I'm an animal. I'm back and forth. I'm very.
Yeah.
We're talking about people before. Eddie Murphy's one of the reasons, and he paces. I pace.
Yeah.
Sam Kinison. You'll find the fact when you watch, the person you'll see the most come out of me is Sam Kinison, little Robin Williams, little Bob Nelson, little Howie Mandel. Those are the guys that
you're kind of angry.
I'm very angry. I'm very angry, but I'm lovable. And that's
when you got out of the car, I thought we might have to fight, and then you were all smiles and hugs.
Oh yeah, well, because you didn't let me hit the little ball.
I just got finished watching your videos. I thought it was going to be go time.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, and I was only upset because you wouldn't let me hit the little tennis ball you had tied up. This is your car can go to here. I wanted to just touch it.
We need room for the Harleys, bro.
I make room. I make way for the Harleys, my friend. But I just wanted to touch the ball with the front of the car. That's all.
We've all been there, haven't we?
Absolutely. Well, that's what you. Never mind.
Yeah, that was back in my day.
Yeah, I didn't want to say that. Then you made me lay down on the hood of the car.
Yeah, we don't go there.
Yeah, I'm not going to go there. It's a religious show. I don't want to.
Well, we'll watch the rest of the Jerry Seinfeld video, but they make some good points.
So far, now I'd never seen this, but I heard all about it. Obviously, as a comic. But he's so right, so right. The line keeps moving, and people make the line up as you go along. After you say something is when they make a line. And it's like, wait a minute, but this isn't, all right, I'm staying away from this because you said this was offensive. Now you're saying this is offensive. Now you're saying this is offensive. But then at the same time, all the things that you're talking about, you're offending me. So who's right and who's wrong?
Well, and their opinion.
It's America. You know what? Change the channel. Don't come. Leave. But don't bitch and complain and try to take my job away from me. And that was great when he said how people just... I didn't realize they were such great friends when you're just scrolling by, and that's great, like a gay French king. But that's what people do. They sit on their phone, scrolling all day long, not even knowing, not even caring. They become these keyboard tough guys.
Yeah, and their whole relationship. If I had to get on Twitter for the podcast, and the place is a cesspool, I can't. Oh yeah, it drives me crazy.
Half of these people that say bad things to me, I'm like, you know what? Come say it to my face.
Yeah.
See if you have and if you have the goal to say, well, we're going to talk and we're going to whatever, we'll agree to disagree or whatever, or we're going to fight. And I'm not saying I'm a tough guy or nothing, but what I'm saying is 99% of the people who write real nasty things right away about how they're offended or whatever, and then they get really offensive trying to tell you why they're offended. They would never ever say it to your face, ever, is what,
The craziness that I see on the news, the Antifa stuff is, and it's the Proud Boys.
Is that like Antifa?
Antifa, whatever. But it always happens in a hyper-liberal state or city. So you never see it happen in Texas or Florida because we're Second Amendment states.
That's why I want to go to New York.
You could not come charging up to me with a stickball bat with a cardboard sign on it and a mask on your face. I might shoot you.
Right.
So this is Florida, so it doesn't happen here. My fear is, and I did a podcast on this, that we will begin to see pushback in both directions, both groups being guilty to some degree. But the idea that you can be tolerant, you demand tolerance in all areas, but be intolerant to other areas. So the Mapplethorpe exhibit, which was a bunch of young prepubescent kids in photographs, was art back in New York when I was a kid.
Right.
But the scrolling French queen or whatever he said, super offensive.
Right.
One's art, one's they consider art, and one they consider
and every one of these
hate
kids,
speech.
Any one of these, when I say kids, just younger people. They're not just kids and everything. But and some of them are older, some of them just older. And
college professors is where it's coming from.
Well, that's where it's coming from. It's being taught the last 10 or 15 years. So, but all of them watch The Bachelor. They all watch Survivor. They watch these stupid reality shows that aren't even real reality. That you want to talk offensive. You watch The Bachelor or The Bachelorette. It's a whore basically that's going through 20 guys to find out the right guy.
Yeah.
That's not offensive. You're not offended at that, but you're offended that I said black or I said gay or I said lesbian, but you're not offended. You're watching, boy, I hope she picks Tommy. He's really good looking, but I like Phil too. Yeah. What about Pete? You know what? Sleep with all of them and find out which one you like the best. That.
And how demeaning is that to women that they're all going to cattle? They're going to compete for one dude with a rose.
That's what I'm saying. It's a cattle.
And how is that not offensive to women? Now, if you push the envelope and the envelope has been pushed way past the edge already, but in the Olympics we're going to have transgender males competing
under female.
Yeah, so they would be transgender females.
Well, my thing is the whole thing is like, listen, if you're transgender, I always say like people like in New York there is 38 or 39 different genders like that and I'm like, are you kidding me? There's 2. I'll even go off the limb and say there's 6, and the 6 are man, woman. Gay man, gay woman, transgender man, transgender woman. That's it. That's the 6. And if you break it down, everyone was just man or woman. So it's really 2. Yeah, it's 3 different categories of 2.
I think
after that, I identify as being a 4-leaf clover. All right, well, go lay in a park, you stupid bat, son of a.
I think.
Oh, you're making me not say anything.
I think the spectrum exists within the binary genders. So there are within the male gender a huge spectrum of people that identify one way or another, But absolutely. A man is always a man and a woman's always a woman, except for the overlap, the hermaphrodites. Sometimes, but that is such a small percentage of real life.
People are born, with X and Y chromosomes. We're only human. We're not perfect. There are people out there. You see them. We see them all the time. You can tell. Like I do a whole joke about not identifying my son being gay, but I was able to identify a lot of other people's kids at 1 or 2 years old. You see it. Yeah. Little boys, and they're just walking around flailing their hands. And I'm, again, like him with the thing, like people got offended at him saying about the hand. But you could see it in their face, in the way they move their mouth.
Yeah, I think it's maybe not a 1 or 2, maybe at 12 or 13.
No,
but
there's a couple that
I would expect a 1 or 2 year old to be kind of soft.
All right, say 3. Say 3. But as soon as they were walking around and just the way they carried themselves, I used to always tease, and I would say bad things. I was like, oh, that kid's going to be doing something bad to another boy at 15. And he was only like 3 or 4 years old because you could see it. Just me being the ass that I am.
Yeah.
But also seeing it and not seeing it in my own kid. But although my son wasn't, he wasn't, because again, he was in denial. He hid it. But I'm just saying, people are born that way. It's your X and Y are crisscrossed. No one's perfect, and I personally say that there's always been gay, there's always been everything. But if you notice, like with autism, go to autism for a minute. When we were growing up, 1 in every 25 kids had autism. Now it's 1 in every 5.
Yeah.
How did they go? Or 1 in every 4? How did they go from 1 in every 25 to 1 in every 5? I think that has something to do with all the chemicals and crap that are in all the foods and the
vaccinations.
Yeah,
they talk about. My granddaughter, by the way, be careful. My granddaughter's autistic.
Is she? All right. Well,
but you don't have to be careful. I just wanted to sound like a Democrat.
Oh, all right. Thank you.
Well, I did a bit for. Well, they told me to do Christian comedy, so my first few attempts at Christian comedy we had very different ideas of what Christian comedy is. So I'm making fun of denominations and things like that. That's not what they mean. They don't mean comedy within Christianity. They mean keep it clean. Well, that wasn't my strength, right? So
Still isn't.
I did a thing about. Although
I'm impressed with you.
I did a thing in a church about. I said, well, let me break this down for you so everybody knows there are atheists. Those are people who don't believe in God. And then there's people that are angry at God, and they're called Democrats. Everybody laughed,
That's funny.
But not in church. So so everybody fell apart, and Monday morning, I did a joke on Sunday. Every Monday morning, I got called by the pastor. Don't do this, don't do that. But that, to me, was Christian comedy within Christianity.
Right.
But they meant
just clean,
Opie
cute.
Taylor kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I do it now, but and when I preach, I throw a lot of humor in there and keep everybody engaged in the message, right?
Right.
But I had a very different idea of what they meant by Christian comedy and what I meant by it.
Why did the chicken cross the road?
Yeah.
To get to the other side, right? And then you're like, and why did the frog cross the road? Because he was stapled to the chicken's back.
Why the cow crossed the road? To get to the other side.
Is that? And if that's what they're looking for, that's
because
right.
Cows. Can you explain that to him? Because cows have udders.
Right.
So when I stumble through it, I say, if I'm like stumbling through my notes or something, I look up and say, does everybody know everybody? Say hello to your neighbor while I do this.
Right.
Talk amongst yourselves. I'm a little tied up right now.
Right.
Trying to figure out what page. I should have numbered these pages.
Right. You know what? But that's what makes you real, and that's what makes it more. Right. That's what I'm more attracted
Makes it
to.
More personable.
That's what I'm more attracted to in a comic. That's what I'm more attracted to in a priest or not priest, but a preacher, a pastor. That's half the reason why I said like my buddy's church, the first Bible church that I go to once in a while. I love the pastors. The pastors are great, and they're like you. They're guys who lived. The one guy, Pastor Pat, who I'm hoping is okay, he just had a heart attack last week. I got to find out what's going on with him. He was a biker. A Vietnam vet. He was a drug addict. He was a tough. Yeah, I know he's 68 or 70 years old now, but he was a tough mutter. So he was a real tough dude. But now he's a great. But when he speaks, because he speaks from his heart, and he speaks from experience, and he speaks.
And you know it's not. You know it's not
fake.
something he learned in a weekend seminar. Or
no.
Right.
And
so
when you listen to this guy talk, you just like you're amazing. I could sit and listen to you all day.
Yeah.
And that's what
Real-life
attracts me. Right
experience.
now, you're bringing me into. You're teaching me like your angle on God, because so not everybody can listen to the preacher just preaching from the book and everything. That doesn't.
And
doesn't
if you don't,
appeal.
for me, if it doesn't make rational sense, if
Right.
it's not in context, so
Right.
we tend to look at the Bible with 21st century lenses, but it was written in the first century of the New
Right.
Testament.
Right. Right.
So you've got to look at it the way who wrote it, who they write it to,
Right.
why were they writing it,
Right.
and when you start to it's called hermeneutics, but when you start to unpack Scripture that way, which is what I go to school for now,
Right.
it really becomes pretty amazing. And if it is all, I tell people, if it is all just allegory, if it's all just figurative, if it's all made up, which we know it isn't now, but they didn't know that in the 1800s when
Right.
they pushed that, it is the most penetrating glimpse into the human condition that has ever been assembled, because these are 66 books written over 1,500 years in 3 different continents, in 3 different languages by 40 different people,
Right.
and they're all pretty much on point.
Right. Pretty much.
Absolutely.
But not all. And that's my problem, because man has, over the years, rewritten a few things, changed a few words. And if you change a few words from 2,000 years ago or whatever.
You could be way off.
You could be way off.
Depends on the translation you use. But
Right.
there are something like 24,000 manuscripts or pieces of
But
manuscripts.
what's the one book that they say is about 20% off? Is it King James, or is it?
Well, the King James they're people, fundamental Christians generally, fundamentalists,
Right.
the ones that...
Because they rewrote it and changed a few of the words to make it adapt to more of now.
So they...
But it took away the
well, there are... This is off topic, but there are word-for-word translations,
Yes.
and there's thought-for-thought translation. So a word-for-word translation is what I study, the ESV. It's harder to read because it's word for word,
Right,
so it's
and-
awkward.
Right,
So
'cause
it's
you don't
easier to
understand some
teach
of the-
out of a thought by thought, but for me, it's easier to learn out of a word for word.
I don't
want to I want to know what the author said, not what somebody thought the
Right.
And that's my point.
That's why
right
you got to
there.
pick your. I think you need to pick your translation responsibly,
Right.
but most of them are pretty accurate.
And then you got to feel, and even if it's off a little bit, if you feel it in your heart, like sometimes when people talk, you could feel the energy, you could feel the power.
Yeah.
Or when you're reading something, you can feel it when you're reading it. You're like, wow, this is so
Yeah,
amazing. And then other times I'm calling my buddy Tony and I'm, Tom, what does this mean? And I read him, and he has to explain it to me, because I'm just so lost.
Well, that's what I do. In fact, I teach that on Thursday nights online, so you can do it from the comfort of, even
Right.
from New York. But the idea being that it is, to me, this is way off topic, but it's factual, right? The parts that are historical are meant to be historical are historical.
This is
The
not
parts
off
that are meant to be poetic are poetic. The parts that are meant to be allegory are allegory. Parables are parables. Psalms are psalms, which are music.
Right.
So it's not all literal. Some of it is descriptive, so it's explaining, especially when you get into like
Hey,
Leviticus.
Psalms just like the palms?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, but some of it is descriptive, what it was like to be a Jew
Right.
under Levitical law. Don't mix cloths and stuff like that.
Right,
Don't
right,
mix
right.
fabrics. But that isn't, to me, prescriptive. That doesn't mean we have to live like that now, especially under the new covenant.
But they do. The Hasidics still
Some-
do and stuff.
Yeah.
That's why
So
they,
you would look at Hasidic
that's why
Jews.
we have what looks
and-
like Amish in Brooklyn. Yeah.
the Amish people. I worked construction in Borough Park, man. That was the cleanest part of Brooklyn I've ever seen in my life. They watched us 8 hours every day that we didn't get trash outside of the horses, the police horses around the building.
Right.
That was, and they were, I'd walk by and say, "Hey, I love your cough drops." An old Smith Brothers joke. So anyway, now that we've offended just about everybody we could
Everyone.
possibly offend.
Right. Oh, you're getting what's today? Thursday? You're getting a call tomorrow morning.
Yeah,
You're probably
yeah.
getting a call tonight. What did you do? Do not put this show up, please. Whatever you do, take it down.
And
What is it,
just
episode
start
30?
bleep out all this.
Is this
So
episode
that Craig
36?
Loydgren stuff.
The-
What show is this?
50. I think we're around 50. I don't remember.
Really? It took that long to have me on your show?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, it wasn't easy
You know
to
what?
book you, by the
I'm
way.
offended.
He knew what he was getting.
Well, he actually called me last week and he goes, "Kenny," and I said, "Kevin," and he goes, "Oh, whatever,"
Yeah.
because I didn't know you had people. I didn't know that your people were going to try to be calling my people.
Hey,
so
listen,
I'm like, I am my people. So and Craig will be here and I'll make dinner.
Nice.
And they were like, all right,
Dinner was good.
all right, deal.
Yes.
So you drive a hard bargain. Okay, just feed them.
Yeah, just feed him. We'll work for
Just
food. I was
feed
sitting
him,
out there with a
it's
sign.
good.
We'll work for food.
It's all good.
All right, let's get back to the video.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
like,
we were doing that. Wow.
it's like a 2-hour podcast. Joe Rogan's going to be jealous.
It's so funny. And then Seth Meyers is one of the people, like, he's a pretty liberal guy.
Yeah. And he talks a little bit about it, and I think he gives himself a little too much credit, but...
You can also screw up.
Yes,
you can also screw up. And, you know, it happens once in a blue moon, and you hear about it on Twitter halfway...
Immediate.
You know, just as soon as the magazine has hit the internet. And sometimes we...
One thing I have in common with this guy, lack of eyebrows.
Nice.
So.
Oh yeah, look, you guys have the same you guys have the same non-eyebrow.
Yeah, so it's they're under the crown, under the under my Cro-Magnon skull.
Is that what that
is?
Yeah, well, I don't have
put the cover out early. And the covers court controversy even more than the cartoons do.
Yes.
And we hear about it right away.
It's interesting how that ripple can sort of start. And then do you have a sense when a controversy starts, do you then look back at the work and go, wait, did we make a mistake, or is this...
Sure, yeah. I mean, if you have half a brain, you give it a second thought.
When was that? Tell us about that.
Well, this I had to be on television all the time.
What?
So you did go on TV and defend this.
But I had to go on CNN to explain this, and it's never a good moment, A, when you're on television explaining
now, that to me is funny.
And B,
I think it's funny.
When the guy on CNN is asking you, well, that could have been on the cover of a Nazi magazine.
Right.
You know, thanks a lot.
I know.
My mother is watching this show.
Explain and defend is not apologize. Did you?
No, I didn't apologize.
Okay, have you ever done that?
Apologize?
Yeah.
No.
So then you've never felt that you've gone over the line, pushed it, but
I'm saying, but we have these conversations in the office all the time. We do get, you know, Barry Blitt, who did this cartoon and does a lot of our political... He's fantastic. Yeah. But a lot of his sketches go over the line in a way that you...
So there is at some point where and I would be inclined, not by my personality, not to be too mean anyway, but also by my personality would offend most people in conversation, right?
Right.
But I would be disinclined to apologize unless I really thought that that I intended to be mean, and that can happen.
Right. Well, that's what I was saying before. You can't apologize for doing your jokes unless you're going to really specifically be angry and like really single out one person, and if you're mean to that one person or one group, but you really say mean things.
The Kramer thing I would have had to apologize for that.
Absolutely.
That's not funny.
Certain things you have to be apologetic about, but other things, if you're just up there, you're doing your set and you're having a joke at a good time and you're laughing, and like with me, everything is very personal. It comes from my life and my experiences. So if you get offended at something, sorry, buddy, I'm bringing you through what I lived. You're like when I was saying before, you're in my house. What I always tell people too, a lot of times, I'm like, welcome. I hope you enjoy the next hour because I'm going to take you through a little trip, a little guided tour through my head. You know, I'm going to take you through a guided tour inside of my head and enjoy it because this is where I live. You're coming into my house, which is my brain. Same thing. I'm not going to apologize for something I said if I lived it or experienced it or had an issue with it. Now, if I'm just talking about something topical or something else, and I maybe say something that's wrong that I think about after, I'm like, wow, maybe I shouldn't have said that. I mean, it hasn't really happened, but if it does, I would apologize if I had to. But I'm not, like I said, like the thing with the Kurt Cobain thing. The only one person I would ever apologize to is his daughter, just because it's her daddy. I don't want to, hurt nobody and their dad.
And that's tough. That's
And I always was gonna. I don't even do that. I did that joke 20 times.
They always use an anecdotal example of, and politicians do it too. So they'll be, and I just saw somebody talk about this, but they'll be like, "Let me tell you about Sue Smith. Sue Smith is a single mother of 17 and a mail carrier in St. Louis." But that's a very unique situation. So you legislate for the benefit of a country, and not just for a benefit
one
of
person.
One person or
Smith.
0.10% of, So while it pulls on your heartstrings, I think your emotional decisions are usually the worst decisions you could possibly make.
Well, right. It's not a rational decision. An emotional decision, like an emotional sale or a buy, when you buy something, because emotionally you feel it's the right thing to do, and then after you buy it, you're like, whoa, what did I do? I shouldn't have did this.
Yeah.
But at the time, it felt right. Right, you can't run a country. Like I was saying before, most people can't handle a family of 4. A mother, a father, and 2 kids, and you have disagreements, you have issues, and you have one, you tell them to do something, but they're not doing it, they're not going to school, they're not doing this, whatever it is, and you have issues in 4. These same people get mad at, like, the president who's trying to take care of 350 million people. And I say 350 because it's like 330 and then there's about 20 million illegals. So, and that's no lie. I mean, that's real, that's
those
real
are the numbers I've
yeah,
heard.
Absolutely. So, you can't, he's not going to, and no matter who the president is, even when Obama was in office or anybody else, you cannot make everybody happy all the time. Someone's always going to be upset, but you can't at the same time go crazy and scream and then go, and I'm not going to do that. I don't care that the president said it. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
You know, Obama wasn't my choice. I didn't vote for him, but he was still my president.
Yeah.
And if I was in the military or something, I would do what he said because he's still my commander-in-chief. Bottom line, I'll wait. He's one little part of a big cog, and in 4 years, there'll be another guy. So he's not going to totally destroy, although, you know, sometimes
that's the checks and balances that work well in our country,
right,
in our political system.
Absolutely. So you got one guy in there that's not the greatest. Well, you hope in 4 years you vote in someone that does a better job. Now, we all voted, you know, a lot of people voted in Trump, you know, myself included, because we were sick and tired of the politics. We were sick and tired of everything, and we wanted to just see this country get back to being a superpower, because we were, you know, someone's got to be the biggest kid on the block. I'd rather it be us. And I'd rather it be me and my people than have someone else standing over us with their thumb on us, telling us what we have to do.
And I'm a nationalist to the extent that I think the president should represent our country first. If you were to hire a football coach and all he wanted to do was break even or tie with every team he played,
right,
everybody gets a participation trophy, that's not my coach. I want a coach that fields a team that wants to win, and that's what a president should do.
Right, he wants to win, absolutely.
I'm definitely not a globalist, and my big problem with Obama and any globalist is that they are elected to put their district and our country first.
Right.
And so we are the most generous, philanthropic, or whatever it's called,
right,
country in the history of countries. Right,
right, absolutely.
We are the best, safest, most loving, accepting country in the world.
Right, we can have
ever.
some rules though. Too many bad people are coming in.
But we can't just it can't all be relative. We can't have 345 truths, right? There is a truth, and the truth can stand by itself. And so now, while there's debate and room for argument, certainly
absolutely.
Civil discourse, I would call it, but the idea that you can't speak into my truth, but I feel free to speak into your truth.
Right.
And what is that?
Well, that's what we're having. That's exactly what we're having right now.
Yeah.
So
everybody can have an opinion, but my opinion doesn't necessarily mean my opinion's better than your opinion.
Yeah.
And that's where the problem is.
Well, that's where
people think their opinion is the only opinion. They forgot that other people can have an opinion.
Right. My opinion is right. Yours is wrong. And now I'm going to bash you and call you names because you don't agree with my opinion.
And they feel like they can. I lost my thought. Now it just happened to me.
Oh, there you go. See that?
But too hard.
What time is it? It's way late. We probably would have got 2.5 hours in on this show now.
Yeah, oh, it's midnight.
This is gonna be a three-part show. That's why you're tired, man. You're getting older.
Well, let's finish the video. Stop fooling around.
It's only 4 minutes and 11 seconds long. We're about
and we've been watching it for 30 minutes.
Hey, listen.
About right.
That sounds right. Right.
You know, it's important for him to go too far to see where the line is, if such a line exists. You know, should there be a line? I don't know. But sometimes there's a misfire. I got a misfire today. I won't describe it, but it was, you know.
What does that mean? You got a misfire today?
Get it, Jerry.
It was a sketch. It was a sketch about a possible cover about the Vanity Fair cover recently.
Oh, okay, there you go.
But it didn't work.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work,
I would like to know what it was.
You're not going to get it.
Now you, as long as we're on this subject, which I think is very relevant, you said the other day, I saw a thing, I think it was on Instagram, you're not going to make any jokes about Caitlyn Jenner.
I said that day I wasn't. You know, I don't.
Oh, that day.
No, but I don't want to. Again, now Caitlyn Jenner is a person who will continue to do things in the public eye, and she will be as open to jokes as everybody else. But as far as that cover in that moment, I sort of thought that was a wonderful moment, and that wasn't a time to make a joke. So.
Oh, okay.
But I don't want to think Caitlyn Jenner can't go around doing whatever she wants the rest of her life and thinking she's not going to show up in a monologue.
Okay,
so
okay, good.
Very clear about that.
All right, good. Yeah. I feel better now.
Yeah, there's no carte. Nobody gets carte blanche on late night.
That's great.
So that is Seth. What's his name? Seth Meyers.
Seth Meyers.
Seth Meyers, funny guy. This is the new generation of a late show host. We were David Letterman and Johnny Carson guys. I'm guessing.
Yeah.
I was a huge Letterman fan.
Guy too.
I stayed up every night to watch
he
Letterman.
Was so
Larry
wild
Bud Melman.
oh my God.
And Captain Haggerty was the fireman that was sitting in the vinyl chair.
That's why you watched it, because Captain Haggerty.
Yeah, so I thought I maybe was related to him and I could be famous.
There you go. Yeah, no, but I liked Letterman because Letterman would push the envelope and do weird things and different things. That's why I liked Conan.
Right.
Andy Kaufman.
Conan. Well, I mean, Kaufman. You know what? Kaufman was he was great, but he was a Steve Martin ripoff. I mean, you know, Martin did it first. a lot of that stuff and got
But he
famous.
added kind of a fourth dimension to comedy. He would seed the audience. He would,
No,
you know,
yeah, but that
all
was-
that was a Jerry
Dude,
Lawler,
Reed-
the wrestling dude.
Dude, yeah, he had his characters, and he was a weird guy. He was
Yeah.
funny. Don't get me wrong, he was funny. I loved him on Taxi.
Yeah.
But if you there's a Steve Martin has a book out called Still Standing or Standing Up or whatever it is. It's based on his life and when he grew up, and it ends like when his comedy career ended. And he was the first one of the early rock and roll comics.
Yeah,
he was
yeah.
selling out arenas. He was selling out 15, 20,000 seat arenas. For
I was
his
a kid back
stand-up.
then, and we weren't allowed to listen to it.
Right, and it was just wild and weird and offbeat, but he was the first guy. He would leave, he would bring the whole audience with him on a trip. He would take them through the club or through where he was at, and he was
Really?
like, come follow me. Yeah, and had people come out. In the book, he was down here in Florida. He was down closer to the Fort Myers area, and he was in a club, and he brought everybody. He's just like he brought everybody out, and he was pointing things out to them and everything. And a cab went by, waved the cab down.
A very Letterman thing to do, like the old Letterman.
He got in the cab, and this is 1968 and 1970. It was before all these guys. So he got into the cab and left and waved at everybody. They drove about 2 miles down the block. He made the guy turn around and go back and drive by again. Everybody was still outside.
Oh, my God.
And they seen him coming, so they're all waving, and he just waved at everybody, and he went back to his hotel. That was it. Like
That's
he
a big
left him off.
close. That's a big close.
Yeah, and it was just weird. Like, he would do things like that. Now, Kaufman took it to not to another level. He just kind of did the same thing, but it was when, again, the comedy club scenes were coming out more and TV was coming out more.
Yeah.
So Steve Martin was doing all this stuff not
Earlier,
for
yeah.
television. He wasn't doing it as stunts.
Right.
So Kaufman, don't get me wrong again.
Kaufman-
He put his
I
spin
think
on
a lot of it.
He worked everybody. I mean,
His-
and I'm sure Letterman was in on all that Jerry Lawler stuff. But
He worked everybody. He was in on some stuff and not other things. But I think he did it more as like stunts to shock and awe.
Yeah,
That was
yeah.
his thing. He wanted to like create these things for people to be wowed and amazed, because he wasn't actually very funny at a lot of things. He was just like wild. Like, what the heck did he just do? Where like Steve Martin did the same things. Like, again, you read the books, you'll find out he did all these things. He took people to places. He made people walk around. He would point things out and talk about things in the club, like with everybody following him. Like, he did this stuff, before 5-10 years earlier. So, but he wasn't doing it for a TV show or anything. He was doing it just because he was kind of a weird dude looking for a new angle and like in his own head. Like, he's also the same guy. Like, I dress now better on stage the last year or two, and it's largely, and it took me a few years to get there. It's because him. He always said, look better, dress better than the audience. Always look better than the audience. Always, You look better than the audience, and the audience is always going to look up to you like, oh, this guy looks good, So that's why he always wore the white suits and everything.
Right, but that's everybody's always going to take their own personal spin on it. They're going to take what they like. And
he was, if I'm not mistaken, he was a dancer on the Sonny and Cher show.
Who?
Steve Martin.
And
also a talented musician. He could play the banjo.
Well, he's huge. He's still a big banjo guy.
Yeah.
He has his banjo. He has his band. The what do you call it? Runners. What do they call the? I forgot the name, but they were amazing. That band is amazing. But he's just, you read that book, and that book is one of my favorites. I'm not a big reader. Jen found out that I enjoy reading biographies and autobiographies, so that's what I read, because I don't like to read. I love stories and everything, but I rather watch the movie. But what will definitely intrigue me, and I will stick it out to the end, is autobiographies of human lives. I'm amazed at how people do things and what they do, and especially famous people that you look up to and appreciate and see where they came from. I like to watch and read where he came from and everything else, and come up from nothing, and they moved out to California from Texas when he was like 5, and he started working in Knoxbury Farms for the magician and the guy in there, and that's where another
he was
where
a
he was
magician too.
getting dressing nicer and stuff, and just learning kind of the weird things and entertainment. He started entertaining at 13, 14 at Knoxbury Farms, but this is in the 50s. He's Steve
but
Martin's
you
70s.
also read their book and you entertain yourself because you hear it in their voice.
Oh yeah, I hear everything. When I read people's books, I read it in their voice.
It was a wild and crazy weekend.
Hey, well, I mean, I don't know. You don't do that? Like, when I read things, I always read it in.
He reads it in their voice.
I read in.
I don't take the weed, buddy. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh well, I don't. You don't really.
So we
need that.
So
But
you,
the Jerry Seinfeld book. Too.
I did. Jerry Seinfeld has a good book. I probably got a couple, but I read one. Yeah. Oh, and his. Remember, I had a hard time. It was one of the only books I had a hard time to get through, and I kept telling him I'd read it. I'm like, what is going on here? Oh my God!
What's the deal with airport food?
And I'm reading. I'm like, I can't believe that when I was doing this, and I'm like, it was just taking me forever to read the book because I could not read it in his voice. Brewer's book. Jim Brewer has a great book out too, and I was reading it like him. like, "Yo, dude," you know. And I was just doing like when he would talk about different characters and stuff. Like he was talking about Ozzy and talking about this one, like all these other characters that he does. Not Ozzy, but you know, when he's talking about stuff like doing Metallica and doing Brian Johnson's one of his big ones, and he did a whole show with Brian Johnson and went on the road with him and stuff, and all I can hear it is Brian Johnson from AC/DC, and all I can hear it is his voice doing the impressions. So I read it like that. So I do have issues. Like I definitely have issues.
Well, this is why I don't read Nietzsche, because I don't speak German. So I start and I'm like, I can't even translate it. I would have to get Rosetta Stone.
There you go. Yes, there you go.
So if we go back to, we'll wrap it up here in a minute.
Did we finish this?
Yeah. So if we go back to the late night guys, here's an interesting twist on the late night guys. There's a whole generation that think they are watching the news when they're watching these late night show comedy, because they've gotten very political. Obviously, we have a president now that's no president has ever been under attack like this guy's under attack. I don't even like the guy, but I find myself rooting for him because everybody's against him.
Absolutely.
So
he wasn't my first choice in the party to be. But you know what? He's trying to do his best and trying to do the best.
He's doing
for this
a good job.
He's doing a pretty good. He's got a lot more accomplished than any other president has gotten.
Which
done
makes
in a long
me
time.
wonder. He gets his hostages back from North Korea, which means any other professional politician could have done that in the last 20 years.
Dennis Rodman didn't do it.
Yeah, and they didn't do it. So Obama could have done it. Bush could have done it. Maybe Clinton could have done it, and they never did. So this guy who's a reality TV guy, and I remember him as a real estate developer, the Central Park thing.
I don't even look at him as the reality, because I never really watched it.
I didn't watch it either.
But he's
a businessman.
Dude, he's Tyson's Apartments, all the buildings, Tyson's on Tyson's Lane down there.
Yeah.
That's all. Those are all Trump buildings.
Do they got Trump on them?
No, somewhere there's little T's and stuff, but it was his father's that he took over, obviously. But he owns all those. You go up to Coney Island, like I'm in Brooklyn all the time working and stuff. You go up to Coney Island, all those buildings, the marble homes and all those homes, those are all Trump buildings. Like he was a real estate guy.
Yeah.
So with all that, and just a big businessman. That's why I got mad when they were that whole thing about grabbing the P, grabbing it when
a 20-year-old video audio tape that he didn't know was being 16,
made. Right, it was against his thing. Should have never came out. And it's when he was a billionaire socialite. He's Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
Bruce Wayne gets Batman gets in trouble. When he's Bruce Wayne, he gets in trouble for doing billionaire socialite things.
What was the setup to that? Were they talking about that already, and the guy pressed click when he said his part?
They were talking about a whole bunch of things.
So that is, to me, I don't talk like that, and I wouldn't want my president to talk like that now, but a billionaire playboy talked like that 20 years ago. I don't care.
A billionaire playboy that ran the Miss America pageant for the last 30 years, very around women, always knew he was not a womanizer, but he's a womanizer. No, he wasn't. He was a single guy, billionaire that was having a good time with women and having his fun.
I wouldn't have him baptize me. Let's just leave it at that.
But at the same time,
but that's not what you vote for.
You can't hold that. He wasn't. If he was a politician then saying that, you get a little offended because you're supposed to be for the people, and of the people.
And if he said it now, I would have a big problem.
Right, if he said it,
but he didn't say it as a president. He said it as what he was prior to.
And them talking about women and everything else.
He was elected,
but it wasn't even that. He should have never.
Over it.
Time's running out.
I could mute that.
What happened?
The computer. See, what I need is a technician. So I'm trying to hold these conversations and run the show from my little empire here.
Look, Kevin Haggerty. Photos from Kevin Haggerty's post in mobile.
Hey, we better get rid of it.
I do not want to see any photos that go scrolling across.
We better not
screen.
click through. That's Monday night's guest.
Oh, yeah? What is that? A book she wrote? A Mother's Love?
Yeah, no, she asked to volunteer. Strangely enough, I put that. We talked about this earlier. I put that I was going to volunteer at a Narcan giveaway, and she asked to be part of that, which was pretty cool. So what I'm looking for here is your flyer, not that one.
Well, is like she has? Or did she have a child or something that
her son was brought back to life
because of
in January from Narcan? So she asked if she can volunteer with me. There's the post. And bro, how do I not have your?
It's amazing. God bless. Thank God that happened to her, and she's got a kid back.
Right.
But again, the society that we're living in. We were talking about before. We know a few people that their parents, the kids are opiate abusers, and they just they can't seem to stay off of it. There it is. But at the same time, now the parents have Narcan in the house to save their kids because they know eventually they're going to need it.
And how scary is that?
That's what I'm talking about. It's so scary, so scary. And we know a couple of kids that were brought back from that. And we know a couple of kids that, like, one kid in particular, he was brought back. He was in a coma for a while and couldn't even speak, but now he's back. And then his girlfriend, they were both drug addicts, pills. Then they had a kid together, and the kid was like 6 months old. She went back to the using. She OD'd, and she's gone. She's dead.
Yeah.
And they were 20, 21 years old. The kid's about 24, 25 now with a 4 or 5-year-old that he's raising with his parents. And he's an pill guy and struggling every day with it because I think he's doing pretty good, but I think he did fall off the wagon one time for about 6 months. But it's tough. But his parents, same thing. They are, I don't know if they still have it. They might, whatever. But they carry, they're ready to save him because the kid OD'd on that couch twice.
I did a Narcan episode, and I keep a can of Narcan.
Let me see it. I don't even know what it looks like. Thank God. I'm so blessed.
It's a nasal spray.
You know what?
Right.
Yeah, but you just shoot it up into their nose?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can't use it too much, apparently, so it's not like you can overdose on it. So if it doesn't work the first time, you can do it a second, third, fourth time. We had an EMS guy call in live on one of the episodes.
Right.
And so, anyway, I put on, she messaged me, she texted me and said, can I help volunteer with you at that event? And I'm
That's
like,
awesome.
of course. And
That's
then,
awesome.
So then I texted her back and I said, why don't you be on the show the night before? We'll talk about, we'll tell your story, which is a heartbreak. It's hard for me to hear this from somebody I've known for so long.
Right.
And I know her sons. They're mountains, by the way. They're like huge, beat everybody up kind of guy, like mountain, big bearded,
Right. And they still have issues to this day? Well, he just brought back.
I don't know. And I tend not to try to interview guests before the show because then I forget to ask things while we're on the show.
You know what? I same thing. People like my friends. Oh, I don't want to come to your show. You're going to pick on me. I'm like, first of all, don't flatter yourself.
Yeah.
And second of all, I like to talk to people I don't know because I know you. I can't ask you an honest question. I know the
we already
answer,
talked
kinda.
about it. Yeah.
So I'm not even going to talk to you. So it's the same thing. I didn't mean to take you off of this, but yeah.
Well, not at all. So Saturday night, August 3rd, 7 o'clock. We have you can do the talking, buddy. That handsome dude down the middle is Craig Loydgren.
Oh, look at that guy. And the guy on the right who looks like me is Matt Fernandez.
So is he trying to eat off your plate? Why is he? Is he gonna do a Dance Moms routine?
I'll tell you. I don't think so. But I watch these guys. I don't know these guys, and I'm anal about I want my show to be as good as possible.
Yeah.
Like if I'm putting something together, or helping putting something together.
Well, the guy that night, who was the guy we did that show with? He was pretty funny.
Oh, he was funny. Yeah.
He was local because I'm still friends with him on Facebook.
Yeah, I'm friends with him on Sean Purvis.
Yeah, he was funny.
And he was really funny. You know what? And I found him on watching videos. I found these guys. There was another guy down here that I was told to look up, but I tried to. In fact, it's
busy.
Was it Mike Calta? The Mike Calta show?
Yeah.
Whatever. His girl. What's her name? Whatever the girl is on his show, I forgot her name. Her boyfriend that she's dating is a comic, and I was told, wow, he's really funny. Check him out. So I watched a video or two, and I was like, wow, this guy's funny. I found him on social media. I sent him a message. Got right back to me. Cool dude. Real young, young kid, but funny, like 24, 25. And he's like, oh, dude, I'm booked that night. I'd love to do it, but I can't. I was like, well, can you help me out and recommend some people? So he did exactly what I did. He gave me about 10 people. He goes, here's some people to look at.
That are funny.
That I think are pretty funny. And features. I was like, I need hosts and features. So he gave me a whole bunch of, and I sat there and I watched like a dozen videos of people, maybe even more, because then through them on pages I was watching other videos of people that I knew were down in Florida and stuff. And both of these guys happen to be features, and even like Matt, I think, is even headlining sometimes and stuff. But they're both solid features. I was like, you know what? I'm going to book 2 features instead of a host.
Just do it.
Because the hosts were okay, but I want a good show. So the guy John is going to open the act, but I told him, I was like, well, tag team, man. You don't have, so he'll just go up and do his time, and then he'll bring up Matt, and then Matt will go up and do his time, and then he'll bring up me. We don't need a host, and everybody's funny. And I put 2, and I watched, like I said, I only seen like 8 to 10 minutes of their stuff, like watching on but it was enough. For me, actually, Matt has a special on Amazon Prime too. I watched his whole special.
Right.
Matt Fernandez.
Yeah, Matt Fernandez has a special up there, and I watched it. And then the other guy, John, I just watched a couple of clips. But they're funny guys. I mean, they were funny enough where I was like, you know what, these I only like to bring in funny. I want you to have a good, solid show.
And especially because it's for the Project Dreamcatcher, so it's for a good cause.
Right. Well, for me, I don't care what it's for. Like I want to have a good show.
But there's an inclination to not bring your A game to something you're not. I'm guessing you're not going to retire off this gig.
No. It's half. I got a small budget, and I get a little bit of money.
But it was a good cause, and you wanted to put on a good show.
When you do gigs like this, you want exactly. Sorry, I'm knocking my phone off my leg.
We got a night of laughs with dinner. Cash bar. Looks like you spelled open wrong.
I didn't
spell. So we got to fix that. Open bar. All right. There's no open bar.
Open wrong. OPEN. What does it say?
Open bar. It says cash bar. That's got to be some kind of typo.
Yeah. Oh, open the cash. Look at me. I'm a little slow right now.
It was open before they heard I was coming.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. And then they were like, cash. And I was like, oh, he hasn't drank in 23 years. Yeah, he'll make an exception.
Yeah.
Or was it, well, no, 25 years? How long is it?
30.
30. Oh,
I just celebrated 30. We got a 50-50 raffle. Contact Kathy, who is your sister-in-law?
My cousin.
Cousin?
Yeah.
So I've been talking to her for like a month now.
She's great. Kathy.
Charlene, I don't know who it is. You can be a sponsor to the event. It's $25 for general admission, $30 for limited VIP seating, which Jen tells us is sold out.
I believe it's sold out.
Could you believe people paid extra to sit closer?
It's sold out.
So I would want to sit way in the back, and I'm like a VIP because you don't know this, but I'm pretty famous myself, bro.
Oh, I'm sure. Infamous.
Yeah.
One of those. My phone is off, and I got like 8 messages. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be looking down as you're talking, but
we're gonna close now. So stay with me. Don't let me lose you yet.
This is only a 2.5-hour show. I'm a little disappointed.
Well, Joe Rogan has a market on the 3-hour podcast. We're not allowed to do that.
Yeah. Well, listen, I'm working on Joe. If you're out there listening, I want to be on your show. I'll be a lot funnier. Not tonight, but I'll be a lot funnier other times. You know.
He saved his good stuff for Joe Rogan.
There you go. There you go. I couldn't talk about the.
Never mind.
Yeah.
All right. So the Elks Lodge, and it is what 9135 Denton Road Drive, something like that.
Yeah, Denton, right off of 19.
Yeah, it's right off of 19. I know where it is. Denton Avenue, Hudson, Florida 34667. It's Saturday. This Saturday, 7 p.m. I'll be up there with a few people.
I'm loving it.
Looking forward to as always.
It's right by that Sun Park, the mines.
Sun Mines.
Oh, yeah.
That's right across the street.
It's like a new water park thing.
Yeah. It's a cool little thing, man. That's a great little place.
They were talking at one point about putting a Six Flags up that way.
Well, they were actually talking about putting a Six Flags up right up on my brother, even closer, up in Weeki Wachee, like north of Spring Hill, right there.
Weeki Wachee is a pretty cool place. That place has been there since the 50s, I think.
Yo, you know what's cool? And before we close out, you know what's cool about that? Yes, it's been around. It's the mermaid shows and everything.
Yeah.
A couple of cool little trivia facts, like when prior to Disney opening in Florida. When the movie came out with Don Knotts, Mr. Limpet, they premiered it at Weeki Wachee because it was a water place, and Mr. Limpet, you remember Mr. Limpet where he turns into a porpoise, a dolphin, a fish?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he just turns into a fish, right? And he's swimming around for the government. It's half like cartoonish, and it's Don Knotts. It's great 60s Disney movie. But they did the whole premiere and the whole big screening. Instead of doing it at Hollywood, they did it at Weeki Wachee.
Really?
Yeah, because it was a fish place. Another really cool bit of tidbit.
You know a lot of stuff for a comedian.
I am full of useless. I'm full of useless information.
Yeah,
if you want to, don't ask me anything like really heavy political or anything. I won't have an answer. But if you want to ask me who, like a quote from a movie from like 1983, I pretty much chance I'll have it.
I remember when Easy Money was filmed and they closed Pizza Town.
Yep.
Right, and it was filmed on Newdorp Lane, and it was like a big day for us. We were going to try to be on TV when we were kids.
Rodney Dangerfield and Joe Pesci, baby.
So we ended up in the woods with a keg.
Yeah.
The usual.
Right.
No.
What we didn't do was go to school.
Right.
That didn't change.
Well, get there. The block was all closed.
It was like
making a movie, baby.
It was like Staten Island was on the map finally.
Yeah, easy money, baby. Oh, but the other thing is the movie Jaws. The opening scene in Jaws, Chrissy, like, oh, what's your name? Chrissy, where you going? Swimming. They picked her up. She was a Weeki Wachee mermaid.
Really?
Yeah.
They're not real mermaids?
No.
They have air hoses. I was heartbroken too.
What about their legs? They don't really turn into...
No, they've got real legs inside a suit.
Oh, yeah, really?
Don't ask me how I know.
I'm just disappointed that you just blew that...
So it ruins everything, doesn't it?
Yeah, so look, there's flashes of me up there. Go to my website, Craig Loydgren.
So we're gonna plug you, we're gonna plug me, and I gotta go to the bathroom. I'm 52 years old. I don't hold my bladder for 3 hours, bro. I don't care if Joe Rogan is making a fortune or not.
We made 2.5 hours.
I need a colostomy bag. I'm so old.
Well, what is the timer on there? Do you have a timer for this?
It's long.
Yeah, we've been live for 2 hours and 22 minutes, and we also got dropped. I don't know how much that's going to affect us.
2. What's dropped, man?
We got dropped off the internet somehow.
Oh, what, before, right, you said?
Yeah, but it may have broadcasted anyway. I'm not sure. We'll figure it out. But anyway, this is his website, Craig Loydgren. Now, thank God you have a name that no one else has, because Craig Loydgren could be a website.
Here, can you click on that little A right there, the Amazon A? Or will that bring...
Where is it, here?
Right there. There you go. See, it's this easy. Boom, there's my special right there on Craig Loydgren's Married and Miserable. And then you can click right there and you watch it.
So that is, we can watch the trailer before we go. So he is on Amazon. Do I have the volume off? Oh, I watched this.
All right, well, now everybody else can.
Hey, is that you?
Bro, that's you.
Yeah.
You're a comedian?
You still know your lines?
Tell us a joke.
Well, that's always tough.
Okay,
What happens just like a car? After a few years, the tires start going bald. The brakes don't work so good. Fluid starts leaking. I suffer all that shit. I'm digressing, people. I'm fucking shrinking. At the rate I'm going now, by the time I'm 80, I'm gonna be 3'6". Green.
You do a great Yoda, by the way.
Walking with a cane, talking backwards. A comic I used to be. Yes. Sex I used to have too. You like those dance moves? You like that shit? You know why? 'Cause I'm taking Zumba. Anybody here take Zumba? Zumba is amazing. I have taken 3 classes. And let me tell you, my vagina is tight.
Nice.
You're a dick. Yeah, you suck.
Oh.
Now that shit's funny.
So you telling me you made a kid curse?
Yeah.
So you sunk so low as to make a kid curse.
Yeah, you know what? In today's society, they see and hear a lot worse on YouTube.
And I can't help but notice, and I'm offended. You didn't pick a white kid to curse. What's up with that?
No, the one little white girl called
You
me
picked
D.
you picked a woman, by the way, of color that is a minor.
Well, she's
to curse.
She's an Indian. Her daddy.
I don't need excuses, bro. If I need an excuse, I get a note from my mom.
Man.
They technically both called him some stuff.
Yeah, they both called me bad words, and actually, her father didn't want her to use a bad word. That's why she only said that sucks. Yeah, because he didn't want her to say anything worse than that. And then I had to convince him to say S word at the end. I'm like, come on, it's funny. Like that S is funny. Like they high-five
We need it.
each other.
We need this.
Right. Now, if you watch the special, that's a little clip taken. I did a couple of sketches. I did an opening sketch for a minute and a half of the 8-year-old me telling the class what he wants to be when he grows up, and it's a funny little thing. Then it's an hour of me doing stand-up. Then it's 2 little sketches at the end, one being the guys in my, after the show that didn't watch my special, and then it goes into that. And I do actually tell them 3 really cute little, like, 5-year-old jokes.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, I tell them one, I'm like, no, and another one, no, and then they're, like, not laughing.
That's cut
and
out.
at the end, I give them another, I'm like, huh? And she's just like, and she kicks me, and the other one's like,
suck.
You suck. And then I yell at them, I'm like, you know what, you little, and I call them, like, B words. I'm like, wait until you grow up and be married and miserable, just like me, and then it goes into the credits. And then after all the credits roll, there's actually, because I'm an idiot, there's actually a 14-second post-credit sketch because I like that stuff.
Are you willing to go on record, look at that camera, and apologize for offending people tonight on my podcast?
Not at all.
No, me either.
No, listen, if you guys are offended at anything, just don't watch. I mean, at this point, we've been on for 4.5 hours.
Scroll.
I'm sure you already shut this off. No one's listening to this at this point.
The upside is nobody watches my podcast
There you
anyway.
go. And you can actually put this up as 2 parts.
Yeah, so this is going to be this week's and next week's. I already booked next week. You know, the hardest part of this is remembering to book a show for the next week. So I end up scrambling. I have like my cousin on.
Really? Well, now you don't even have to. You can just put up 2 parts.
This is 2 episodes.
2 episodes, absolutely. So you can tell your cousin to stay home. I didn't really want to talk to you anyway.
So here we are. Let's do this first. We're going to show Craig Loydgren website, where to go.
Just go back, because you go.
Yeah, it's Craig Loydgren with a D. That's where I misspelled it. .com.
Right.
You can reach out. You get your schedule, all that stuff on there.
Well, if you go here, right, like you see how like the little A, like we made it that easy. The A is Amazon, the F is Facebook, Twitter,
So all his
Instagram,
social media.
YouTube, IMDb,
Message you.
Right, and the only one that doesn't exist anymore we're gonna take down is the V, which is Vine. Vine doesn't exist anymore. So
So this is your website. They can eat you maintain this so that it's up to date with your calendar
Absolutely.
and everything
you can go
like
there.
that.
My bios there. Get other videos if you want to just watch silly videos are on that page.
Videos, dates are up there. Ways to get in touch with Craig.
Like if you go back, just go back again because no one needs to see that.
Well, we're trying to get you subscribers so you can get paid on your YouTube too,
there
bro.
you go. Yeah, well, there's my YouTube. See the video, the second one with the black guy? It's such a funny video.
Yeah.
I did a whole thing on, that's my NASA, that the pothole situation on Staten Island is so bad.
So you got to be from Staten Island and realize how bad the roads
and they
are there.
so bad. But the NASA is now training the astronauts on Staten Island how to drive on the lunar surface, because I said there's more potholes on Staten Island than there are impact craters on the surface of the moon. And that's what that whole thing is about. And I play the astronaut. It's a funny little bit. But, like you, I get like 400 people or whatever to watch, or 350 people. Sometimes I get 1,000. The video up there that has the most views on me is the one with the Kurt Cobain joke.
Yeah.
And that's because it's hate.
Yeah, it's everybody.
But tell them to kill myself.
That's good for the algorithms.
Well, that's why
so that will get you suggested, believe it or not.
But that's why I left it up there.
Yeah.
Right.
I left it up there. It's a joke I did 15, 20 times. It wasn't even a big joke. When I put it, I just thought it was a
15, 20 years ago.
Yeah, it was early stuff. Like that video I put up, it's from like 2005.
Look, I subscribed and didn't ring the alert bell. So now I've rung the alert bell. So
were you my 80th subscriber?
Get over to his YouTube channel here, and it's Craig Loydgren. Just type it in; it'll find you. Subscribe. Get this guy up to monetization. And while we're on that topic, switch to me. Watch this. Like I know what I'm doing. If you would go to the Godlogic Project on YouTube. That's youtube.com/Godlogic Project. Subscribe. Ring the alert bell. Help us get to 1,000 subscribers. It'll help the Godlogic Project. It's free. And it believe it or not is a really big help. It helps us to monetize, but it also helps me do some other things that YouTube offers that they used to offer. Now they limited it to people with only 1,000 subscribers or more. So if you would do that, I'd really appreciate it. It only takes a second, and it's a really big help. If there's anything I could do for you guys.
You just got another subscriber, baby.
Oh, we're killing it. We at 250?
Yeah, I was at 249. I just made it 250.
So we're at 250. We're a quarter of the way there now.
I think you made mine 80, if I could say.
Yeah. So we're getting there.
It's such a shame. I bust my butt.
You've been at this 12 years. I've been at it 4 months.
No, I've been at it almost 19 years. 18 going into my 19th.
Yeah, but YouTube, some of these videos are 12 years old.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they are.
What videos are 12 years old?
I don't know, but we're closing the show. It isn't all about Craig.
Are you sure?
So we'll get back.
Tracy.
So if there's anything I could do for you guys, if you have a family member struggling with addiction of any kind, need prayer, anything like that, email me at godlogicproject@gmail.com. I have a lot of resources in the Tampa Bay area. I can line them up for you, help you get the kind of.
He's an amazing guy. He really is. You're an amazing dude.
I am amazing.
You know that's
and
why.
And stunningly good looking.
Well, you're amazing.
A lot of people say I look like a young Denzel.
A young Denzel Washington.
So I'll be apologizing for that joke next week.
I'm sure you will.
I'll be on Jimmy Kimmel apologizing.
Denzel will hear that and look back like, damn,
Denzel gonna sue me. He's like, is that my dead grandfather? Guy look. Never mind. Let's stop being funny for a second. If I could help you guys in any way, godlogicproject@gmail.com. You want to be a guest on the show? Email me at godlogicproject@gmail.com. You could also message me at godlogicproject.com, and like Craig's page, all my social media links through that. And I want to thank Craig and Jen for being on here. It's been too long since we've seen each other. We'll see each other again Saturday night for the big show.
The only reason I came down was to do the podcast. I didn't want to see you.
Yeah, I know. Well, you get to get some good exposure being on.
Listen, I lost 3 subscribers doing this show.
I consider myself. I know Ben Shapiro says he's the fastest growing conservative podcast, but I got like 41 new subscribers last month. So percentage-wise, I'm killing Ben Shapiro.
That's awesome.
If you look at it that way.
Wow.
But you shouldn't look at it that way because it's misleading. But if you were to look at it hypothetically, you look at it that way, what do you think? Kevin's a pretty successful guy, right?
I got 1 new subscriber. I just got him.
Yeah, that was me, bro. So I'll get my kids to subscribe. So
yeah, they need to subscribe to me. You poor kids.
Yeah, well they
thank God they have a preacher to go to talk to, a pastor.
Yeah, so they can come into. I'm going to set up a confessional every time somebody watches one of your videos. They can come see me, $5. I'll forgive them. And then I'll be making money, and they'll get to laugh, and they get to go to heaven too.
Hey, you know what? If you want to go out on a stupid video,
no, he's going to go out on his.
Oh, he's going out on his stupid videos. Who cares about him?
This is the Godlogic Project, bro. Anyway, that's the Godlogic Project. We've been running here for like 2.5 hours. He got here like 5 hours ago, so we really are. I'm at like my 7.5 hour of Craig Loydgren right now. If no one's told you they love you today, God loves you. So do we. Receive that. Be blessed.
Me? Not
we'll
so
speak
much.
Soon.
No, I love
Not
you.
so much, Craig.
Thank you.
Thank you for supporting the Godlogic Project. And if no one's told you they love you today, God loves you. So do I. Receive that. Be blessed. We'll speak soon. This has been a RevKev production. Your mileage may vary.
Shut up, Kevin.